What's up, my man Gunner? Wait, I forgot one thing, bro. What's up, YouTube? How's everybody doing? You're in the
Oh
YouTube
man,
platform. We got my man here, Gunner, and
bang
he's gonna
bang.
give you a little intro on what his life was like in the youth authority and little stories here and there. We're gonna have a good show, so I hope you guys enjoy it. And with that being said, Gunner, I'm gonna let you do what you got to do, brother.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. First of all, first and foremost, man, I thank you for allowing me to be on this platform. No Fly Zone, man. A truly a real channel here on YouTube, man. And I like the diversity in it. I like where it's going. I like where it's heading. And hopefully this ship keeps flying, man, and doesn't even land. Um,
What's up, man?
Again, shout out and respects to all the people that are tuning in, tapping in.
Definitely.
I'm going to do the best to my capabilities of bringing you guys a righteous story, a little bit different from what I've said in the past
No
on my
doubt.
channel. Again, Gunners Collective, you already know what it is. Bang, bang, indubitably. So now, Youth Authority. I speak a lot about the Youth Authority, the California Youth Authority on my channel. And reason being is I did an extensive amount of time in the Youth Authority, about 6 years, 8 months, a little bit under 7. And we're going to lead into all that. So
Yeah, definitely.
11 years old, I found myself in the city of Merced, that's located in the Central Valley, 209 area of Merced, California. And, just like a typical kid in that area, man, everything around me was gangs. Everything around me was the flash, the pizzazz, the style. And I gravitated towards that. A lot of my family, my father was incarcerated in and out of prison. A lot of my uncles and family members also. So it wasn't like I didn't have the opportunity to go a different direction. I kind of wanted to go that direction.
Yeah.
And so I got caught up in a murder at the age of 11. I was about 11 and a half years old, chilling at a house party. For those of you that don't know the story goes, an enemy was there, which is someone from Southern California. I recognized this. I approached him. He was at the wrong place at the wrong time. And without going into too much details, he came up short that night. Okay, he was actually executed, and for which me and my co-defendants all caught some time. Now, at this time in the early 90s, they still were charging minors as minors. So I was able to wiggle on that one and get lucky, and I caught life as a minor, which is a 7-year term, basically to the age of 18, or you could actually catch a term to the age of 21 or 24. I was lucky in catching the lower to the age of 18. But being a youngster at that time, life meant life to me. So I was under the assumption that that was it. I was sat down. It was over, game over for me. So I was going to go for the gusto. I was going to go all out. I was going to stand strong for what my beliefs were at that time, which was being a norteño, which is a Chicano from Northern California. So I get incarcerated. I'm in juvenile hall. They keep me separated from everywhere because of the high notoriety of it was a gang-related killing. So already I'm being oppressed in the sense that I'm being kept separate from everybody else. And it wasn't because I was a PC or I was in some type of protected custody. It basically was they couldn't trust me being around all the rest of the youth, thinking that I would influence them or that I would take flight or do some bad stuff just based on I was looking at all day in their eyes. So I ended up catching my time, and I hit my first California Youth Authority, which is NRCC at this time, which meant Northern California Reception Center. It was located in Sacramento. It was basically the Northern Reception. So the majority of the inmates that went there were from Northern California. Okay. So I remember getting there first day, walking up with my little old bag, brown bag, which I had a couple bars of soap, what I brought from juvenile hall, and a couple pictures. And immediately they sent me to dorm 1, which there was 7 dorms at this place, dorm 1 through 7, and each dorm according to your age. Being that I was a youngster, very young, I had just turned 12 now, they sent me to dorm 1. And little did I know that this was actually the dorm that was rocking and rolling, dorm 1 and dorm 2, because we were actually easily influenced being younger, where these older guys on dorm 4, 5, 6, and 7 had been in and out of CYA already, so they knew the ins and outs and what it was all about. We were new, we were fish, we wanted to prove ourselves. So I get there to dorm 1, and immediately before I could even get in the building, I'm getting hit up by a norteño. Where are you from? I give him the rundown. He gives me his rundown, and it's all love. So they give me my first cellie, which is actually a Fresno Bulldog. And we're going to get into the Fresno Bulldogs in a little bit. But Little Inez, shout out, rest in peace and respects to my first cellie ever in Hawaii was Little Inez from Fresno. And immediately he starts to give me the rundown. This is the do's and don'ts. This is how we wiggle. This is where we go. Because just like prison, in California, CYA is very structured. Now, there's a lot of kid games that get played, and there's a lot of different things that are quite different from prison. But at the end of the day, jail is jail. Prison is prison. You're still locked up. There's gates. There's fences. There's all that, right? So here I am incarcerated, and now I think, instead of thinking, wow, what's going on around me, I'm thinking, wow, I made it. Yeah. This is what I aspired to be, right? And I'm putting the time and everything that I got going into it on the back burner. And now I'm thinking about here and now the safety and security of myself. I'm going to handle my business, and in that fashion. And so I remember getting into a couple melees with Southsiders. They would actually bring, which were the opposition at this time, Southsiders from Bakersfield, California. They were starting to bring them into Northern California reception, basically because they had an overflow from SRCC, which was the Southern California Reception Center. So they're bringing these gentlemen in. And of course, we're taking flight immediately on site. And this is how it is in California. When the funk is on, it's on. Yeah, there's no questions to be asked. There's no where you from, okay? Yeah. And you get off where you're mad at immediately. That's just part of the game. So from there, what happens is at this time we have a governor in California. His name is Governor Pete Wilson. And this was a no-nonsense governor of California. This guy was he was very big on if you're locked up, you're going to suffer for being locked up. You're not going to be punished by doing the time. You're going to be punished by the way they treat you while you're doing that time.
No rehabilitation, just straight up.
Straight up. He didn't care. He didn't matter. It didn't matter how old you were, how young you were. Everyone was to be treated the same, which was bad. And so at this time, what they decided to do, it was kind of like a project to them. They decided that for no other reason, they were going to start sending youth from Northern California down south. Now, from the beginning of time, there's always been Southerners in Northern California incarcerated. Reason being that Southern California is a more condensed area. There's a lot more gang members. There's a lot more barrios. There's just a lot more soldiers. And so there's nowhere to put them. They have to go up north because they're just too deep to go in these certain areas. So that's always been that way. And there's been a lot of fights, a lot of wars. Things have been established, but they're established, by this time up north. They're still cracking. It's just what it is. But they decided that for no other reason, they're going to send us down south. So I was going to be on that second busload. Now, I remember that day being shipped out. What they used to do was they would slide these boxes with your name and your YA number under your door. And this meant you were transpacking. You were going to leave. You were going to be transferred out. And I remember I had a cellie at this time. He was an Asian guy, cool guy from MOD, man. Respects to MOD, a big gang out there in Merced. And I'm seeing him messing with the door. And I wake up, it's 2 a.m. And I'm like, oh, shit, that's my box. That's my box. So I look and it says FCN. It has an FCN on it. And I say, okay, where's that? So I start hollering down because everybody's up. I'm hearing a lot of motion at 2 a.m, meaning something's going on here. Yeah. And a night lady's walking by. She's actually a CO. She works the nights. And I asked her, I said, hey, her name was Debbie. I'll never forget. Hey, Debbie, what does FCN mean? And she says, it means Fred C. Nellis, you little gangbanger. You want to bang? Now you're going to bang, right? So I'm like, well, where's Fred C. Nellis? Right? That didn't mean nothing to me. Come to find out, I holler to a couple of my homeboys. They're like, hey, we're going down south to Whittier, to Southeast LA. Right? So now I'm like, okay, all right. So this is how you guys are going to do me. And I'm thinking it's a mistake. I was thinking here I was going to go to OH Clothes, which was in Northern California in Stockton. I was going to have it my way, wiggle with a couple of homeboys, get some good time, eat a couple sopas, and that was going to be that. But that wasn't to be. This was my journey, and this is how it started into a lot of oppression and a lot of struggle within the youth authority. And this was the first way that the administration did this, was by even sending as many of us as they sent at a time. Now, they put 10 of us on this bus. This was to be the second bus load sent there. There was already a few Northerners established there. But you got to understand the makeup and the difference in numbers. When I say that there was this institution, this YA was about 1,700 wards strong. That's what they called us, wards.
Yeah, yeah.
And I would say 1,000 of those were Southern guys from Southern California, Sureños, Southsiders.
Yeah, yeah.
And so there's already 4 or 5 Norteños there. Now they're sending 10 more of us there. Okay, so first night we get there, and you got to understand that these COs had already given these guys the heads up. We got Northerners coming tonight. So these guys are able to fashion up their weaponry, get ready. They know.
Yeah.
You know, now we know also that we're going down there, but we're shackled up. And we had a couple older Sureños that were actually going to YTS, which is another YA for older gentlemen. And they're telling us, so you guys are done. So they're trying to get in our heads like, hey, you guys are done. As soon as you guys get there, they're going to hit you guys, this, and that. And I remember not truly believing it, that we were going down there until we passed Bakersfield. And when we passed Bakersfield, I looked at my homeboy who was sitting beside me, Diller from Fresno, and I told him, bro, what are we going to do when we get there? Yeah. He says, man, I don't know. I'm just trying to get by. He was actually a lifer, meaning that he had got charged as an adult, but because he was a minor, he was going to do till he was 18 and then transfer to prison. So he was pretty much done already. He was about 13, 14 years old, older than me, but I had an older mentality, an older soul. So I'm like, well, I don't know what you're going to do, but as soon as I get there, I'm taking flight because I got to look out for my safety and security and for the homeboys around me. You know, I was a true believer in the cause.
Yeah, yeah.
So of course, without much said, man, we get there, and I remember us getting there, and they had all the Sureños back in the dorm, and they sat us down in the day room, and I can't tell you the exact words that were spoken to us, but it was pretty much, it's on, motherfuckers, it's on. Just don't make it too much paperwork, right? And we're all looking at each other. There was 10 of us that went down there. I still remember everybody's name to this day. I'm in communication with a lot of them because we shared a story that not a lot of people could identify with, and not a lot of people will ever have to live. You know, of course, this CY is now torn down. It's an apartment complex. Our history is gone, but it's right here.
Yeah.
So we get there, and of course they're telling us, you know, pretty much like, hey, it's on, it's on. All right, it's all good. And they take us down to this dorm. Now there was what they called a tall wall and a short wall. Tall wall meaning double bunks, short wall meaning single bunks. They put us all on the short wall. Basically, you might as well just put a fucking light over us going, they're here, they're here, they're here, right? Because they kind of separated us from everyone. And everybody's mean mugging back and forth, and there's little whispers, and we could literally see shanks, you know, or pedazos is what we call them, being slid back and forth, battery packs, you know, socks with batteries in them, soap packs. These guys they're showing us. This is what we got for you, right? We ain't got nothing but a Bible and a pencil, but we're about to make it turn into a Bible thumper, make it thump on someone's head. Yeah. Period. So I'm getting out a partner of mine from Porterville, Tulare County, Cuate, and I'm like, all right, as soon as they hit the lights, the night man hits in there, and as soon as the first person that looks froggish, man, we're going to leap. Everyone's ready, and of course, the story goes, that's indeed what happened. The night man's there. As soon as the lights hit, these guys all sat up. We sat up. Somebody disrespected, and then it was all-out war in this dorm. Now, what was crazy was a lot of I can't quite recall exactly what happened, but I know that people were flying everywhere. This was the first riot or melee that I was actually involved in. You know, like the first one that was real. It got real. There was people getting hit with pencils. Nothing major. You know, it wasn't that major. People, they were trying to body you, but at the same time, we're young kids. Ain't no one really going for the gusto here. But we had our business. And next day, after they cleared the smoke, you know, the cops administration, they came running in. They're snatching people up. They snatched about 10 Southsiders up, threw them on a bus that they already had on standby, and immediately shipped them up north. They were ready. They were ready. They were waiting. The administration knew exactly what was going to take place. So, of course, we go to sleep. They wiped the mace out our eyes. We go to sleep. Left us with mace on us. Didn't take us to an infirmary to get water in our eyes. None of that. None of that. Basically, the smoke was still there. When we woke up, your eyes were still burning. Go to sleep. Oh, your head's itchy. Your head's bleeding. Use a pillow, right?
Deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah, there was none of that. There was no help, you know? And that's what was the first inkling of the feeling of, man, we're on our own, or I'm on my own, you know? Yeah. So, of course, the next morning, we had a long bus ride. It was probably about an 8 to 9 hour bus ride from Northern California to Nellis. So we were hungry, we didn't get no bag. We got a bag lunch, of course, while we were on the bus, but we didn't get dinner. We got there after dinner. They were like, you guys will eat in the morning. Wasn't like a sack lunch waiting on us or none of that.
Yeah.
So in the morning, we're going to the chow hall. Now, the building that we're on, these guys were actually working, the sureños were actually working in the chow hall. So the way my mind thinks, paranoid motherfucker that I am, right? I said, these guys are probably going to spit in our food or do something bad to our food, because when they see some brown skin come to that tray slot, they're already going to know it's the opposition. And I could hear some weird stuff going on back there. So I tell everybody, and of course, again, let me reiterate, I'm not a shot caller. I was nothing like that at this point. I just was a voice that was being heard, because that's how I was. I was very outspoken like I am now. So I'm telling the homeboys, don't eat your pancakes. I remember it was pancakes. They did something strange to these pancakes. So no one ate them, and we were starving. And one of these guys comes out. He's from Long Poke, Lamparas. Joker, I remember his name was, and he's washing the tables as he's looking at us, and he's kind of smirking. And I said, okay, you're the victim. You're the one. You know what's happening with my pancakes, and because I can't eat a pancake, you're going to suffer for it. So of course we get back to the building. We're in the day room. These guys start to trickle in from work, and they're going straight down to the shower area to shower to get ready, and whatever the case may be. Well, as soon as this guy comes in, I jump up and I rush. It's on, because I was feeling some type of way. We get in a fight. We do whatever it is. They take us both to the hole. They bring him back to the building. They leave me in the hole. And I do 17 days or 14 days in the oil, 2 weeks. And this hole was the most miserable existence for a human, period. This hole was not like, it was like the movies. When you see the dark dungeon, and that's exactly what this was. There was no windows. It was like a screen mesh. So rain, sun, whatever elements were going on out there, you felt every bit of that. Yeah. We weren't given blankets. We weren't given sheets till after 3 days. You were just thrown in there with no socks, no shoes, just your boxers and your T-shirt, and you had to make that work for you. It was so cold at night, we used to rip open our mattresses, and the stuff that's in there, the cotton, we'd sleep in between that to stay warm. And you'd be itchy. And this place was hit up, graffiti from top to bottom. You couldn't even tag your name in there if you wanted to. You were feeling every bit of being locked up in a hole.
Yeah.
And they had tier tenders that would walk up and down. Of course, they were the opposition at this time, and they would turn our lights on, give sleep deprivation. We went through all this. This is what, as being a norteño there, we went through, but not necessarily a norteño, because every single inmate that was there, every single ward had their own struggles and strife that they went through. It wasn't just like that for us, but I can only give my point of view on how it was for me. So anyways, we're going through that. I get out of the hole. I get moved from there to Cleveland. There's a few more Northerners there. They're giving us their rundown, how it's been for them. It's not great, and so everyone's identifying and adapting to what it's going to be. Of course, there's a lot of one-on-ones going on. The sureños come and get at us. They're like, they got a lot going on there. So they're like, there's no reason for it to be all-out war. Now, if you go to the school area, you go to church, you go wherever visiting, so we can't call it like an alcoholic. That's on you. But as far as this building, we got a lot going on, so we'll just get our one-on-ones on, and that's what happened. And eventually, I get moved around. Okay, I get moved around to different places. And that was another thing how I felt we were being oppressed, is because they were using us like rag dolls. And it seemed like it was the same old 10 homeboys. They were basically taking the worst of the worst, or the ones that were getting involved the most, right? And throwing us on these new buildings to open these new buildings. And now you got to understand, every building was different, because on every building you got different people.
Yeah.
Whereas on Cleveland, where we were at, and these buildings are all named after presidents. You had Cleveland, Roosevelt, Taft, Madison, Kennedy, so on and so forth, Truman, Hayes. On Cleveland, okay, it's cool. We're established. Northerners been there. They're used to us. But now they go ahead and send us to Kennedy, where norteños have never been, and these guys got a whole different type of program. So they want all that smoke that we're going to bring. And, of course, it was on. So we went from having riots there to finally getting it settled in, and we're finally like, okay, man, maybe we can do a little bit of time here. The one-on-ones were daily, so that was part of life. To roll it up, you guys are going to Madison now. What, right? Kept on bringing in. Now, of course, they're bringing more busloads of Northerners, but they're bringing 7, 8, 5 at a time. It wasn't like they were bringing us a lot of manpower. And you have to understand, these are young children that are scared. So what they're doing is they're a lot of these guys are getting there and they're backing up like crawdads. They're like, they don't want no part of that. They
Yeah.
stop getting banging. They seen the light all of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
So those of us that were really there, that were really about it, that were really concreted in our ways, and were really down for ours, we were about that, man. We were feeling the brunt of what was going on, but we weren't going to go out like that. See, and reason being is not because we hated the opposition, and it wasn't because we felt some type of way. We respected everyone. It was because we knew at the end of the day, man, it wasn't their fault that we were put here. Administration was doing everyone wrong, man, and we weren't going to let them get over on us, period.
Yeah.
And utilize us for some crash dummies is what they were trying to do. And people
Yeah,
started
that's what it
to
sounds like.
oh yeah, people started to respect that and see that, and they used to, and they started to identify with that, and so it wasn't as bad as it was in the beginning. So we've had a lot of riots, a lot of melees. I did a spiel today on my channel, or was it yesterday, about the biggest riot that ever happened in CYA history that I participated in.
I seen that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there was over 200 inmates involved. There was a lot of stabbings that happened that day. People were getting hit in their heads. We actually kicked it off. That was actually thought of and planned by me, Spookio from Salas, who's a legend from Northern California. He's doing 4 life sentences at 111 years. I just did an interview with him on my channel the other day. Peep it out. But these are guys that I've known for 30 plus years that grew up in that life and continued in that life. A lot of guys, they became family men. They went their own ways. But for the most part, everybody that I was there with became that, right? Now, when this happened, when riots like this and things like this would happen, what they would do was the administration would put us on something they called the freeze. Okay? And this hasn't been talked about on too many channels, man. I don't know if they continue. I know there's a couple of people that talk about California Youth Authority. And to be totally honest with you, I don't understand, or I don't know if they don't talk about it because it never happened to them or they just don't recall it. But in 92, 93, they had a thing called the freeze. And what the freeze consisted of is if we had some type of riot or melee in the school area or especially in the building, what they would do, they'd strip everybody down. Didn't matter if you were black, white, brown, everybody got it the same. They'd strip everyone down to boxers and T-shirts. And you sat up on the edge of your bunk all day long and you ate 3 cheese sandwiches or 2 cheese sandwiches and a milk 3 times a day for a month straight.
Oh, that was straight torture, bro.
Oh, that was torture. And what they did was, one by one, they would let you go to the latrine, which was the bathroom. And that's it. That was what you had coming. They would run showers every 3 days or every other day. It'd be the tall wall would get showers, or then the short wall would get showers. Now, you got to understand, okay, I understand they're doing whatever they do, but you got to understand these were children. We were children at this time.
Yeah.
And what happens to, and what they were trying to do to us is basically force us into conforming to what they wanted us to do. And they were messing with people's bowel movements. There was people that had special diets, that were sick, that were non-dairy. None of that mattered. There wasn't no, hey, I can't eat cheese. Well, then eat bread, motherfucker, straight up. You know what I mean? There was none of that. Well, I can't drink milk. Well, then drink water. Well, can I get some water when it's your turn to go to the bathroom? Drink it out of the sink. They weren't bringing, there was nothing special going on. Of course, what they used to do is they used to put us, eventually after this month, everybody would be sick or to the point of, man, we can't take this no more. We're starving. And that's just what it was. So we'd all sit in this circle. They'd put these big brown chairs that they had into a circle, and they'd bring out 3 to 4 representatives from each side, each faction, 4 Crips, 4 Bloods, 4 others, 4 North, South, Whites. And they'd put us all in a circle. What we do is we'd talk it out. Of course, us with the Southerners at this time, it was all play acting, telling them what they wanted to hear. And a couple times we got off immediately as soon as they opened up program, first day room, everyone's getting theirs back, their run backs. But it became eventually where the redundancy of it, and we knew what we had to go through. Nobody wanted to be part of that. And what I didn't like what the administration did too was they would also have a lot of the Africanos and a lot of these different people involved, right, that weren't involved in these melees. So that way they'd be feeling some type of way against everybody, against the raza, right? And that was a form of oppression against the raza, period, North and South, because you would get the Africano, the blacks, the Crips and Bloods would be mad at us. We're tired of getting punished for your shit. Now, when they would have their little riots, because this was the 90s, and believe Crips and Bloods would go at it, right? Yeah. Not necessarily as much as we did, but when they would do that, they wouldn't do that to them. There would be none of that. They would basically lock a few of them up, talk it out in the program office, and everybody was back at school the next day. Another thing that happened, man, what I thought was flagrantly foul in the way they treated the raza, period, was being norteños. The thing we dreaded the most was the school area. Reason being, this was the one place where you went where every different compas, what they called them, every different building met up. Everybody was there. So there was a lot of these buildings where norteños never had went yet, and these guys were foaming at the mouth to get us. Oh, yeah, they were ready to, because there's a bunch of youngsters. They're trying to prove themselves, earn their stripes. They want to get their issue on. And so this was the place where we'd go, and there's so much people around you, you didn't know where the next punch was coming from. So it was something we dreaded, but something where we kept on going. We just kept on going. There was no doubt about that. And I had a friend, man, much respects. I'll never forget him, Shadow from Richmond. He was a white boy, but he was a northerner. And man, this guy right here, I'll never forget. And I give the utmost respect to him too, because there was a morning school and afternoon school. Now they had all the norteños going to morning school. Everything was at a slow pace. They figured we'll get them going to morning school, even though it was on and cracking every day. And then eventually we'll send him to afternoon school. But for some reason, they decided that he was going to be the one and only first one to go to afternoon school by himself. This man got jumped on and beat up every single day. This guy had black eyes from the time he was there to the time he left, right? Wasn't no sucker, man. Was about his business. He could have easily said, I can't take it no more. This man went to school every day, laced up his boots, and got his on. That was a oh, yeah, he still kept catching it. Oh, to this day, he's still about that action. To this day, that man is still about that action. Shadow from Richmond, RVLs, man, stand up. But see, these are some of the individuals that went through some of this stuff. Now, being a norteño at that time and being from the northern cause, I could sit here all day and I could speak about me and mines and how what we went through. But everybody else in that place suffered. Okay, everybody else in that place suffered. They suffered because the administration was playing these gladiator games. So every other group that wasn't involved in our differences, that didn't have nothing to do with it, suffered as a result. Like I said, that freeze. If we went on lockdown, everybody went on lockdown. If something cracked off, which they knew it was going to crack off, then these people that were there just trying to do their time would also feel the mace. When they mace, man, everybody feels it.
Yeah.
Everybody's eyes were burning, and what they were doing at the same time was they figured if we compound the hardships on these guys and get everybody else mad at them, eventually something's going to crack off to the degree of where these guys are going to think twice about gangbang. Well, guess what? Wasn't nothing going to stop us. Okay, we proved that time and time again on all fronts, on all sides. So that was what the California Youth Authority entailed. Now, of course, I go from Nellis. I was there for 3.5 years. Eventually, it got to the point where it was the same old gentleman. It was the same old people. Everybody knew everybody. You done fought pretty much everybody. There was nothing left to prove. You started to gain a form of respect, from your adversary. And that's life, man. There's always going to be a respect there. If you don't respect your enemy, something's wrong with you. Then that ain't your real enemy. Yeah. That ain't your real enemy. I've learned at a young age, respect your enemy, man. Respect your adversary, because if you don't, man, that's when you come up short. Respect his gangster. Believe me. So I ended up getting shipped up north, and it just came out of nowhere. I remember one day I was getting ready to go to the school area to fight another day, and they told me, roll it up. You're leaving. You're going up north. And initially I was elated. Oh yeah, I'm finally going to go be around my people. But then the same butterflies came back. Okay, now I went through the Southern oppression. I went through being down here, but I'm actually used to it now. I learned a lot. My style was different. I adapted a lot to the Southern style because that's all I seen around me for several years. Yeah. Now I got to go up north. How's it going to be up there with my own people? Are they going to look at me different because I was down south functioning? I didn't know. But of course, that wasn't to be the case. I was actually admired and looked at as like, man, wow, I can't believe you did that shit, right? Um, they shipped me to Preston. Now, for those of you that don't know, Preston, it has a lot of history. Okay, Preston was a boys' home, just like Nellis. Those are the two oldest institutions as far as youth. It was a boys' home back in the 20s, 30s, 40s. It used to be an old castle. The castle still stands. They just renovated it. So there's a lot of history that goes into that place. Now, Preston is also for 16 years old and up. And so the gang members and the way that the gang members, this is where it starts to become a little bit more political. It starts to become a little bit more hardcore and gang related at a place like Preston. Not only because Preston had that label of being a little more hardcore, but also the people that were there had an older mentality, and everyone there was going to go to prison. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We were on a one-way ticket that way eventually in our life. So I remember getting there at night after that long bus ride, and I was happy to be gone from LA, but at the same time, I was missing some of the homeboys that I left behind. I felt like I left behind some soldiers, I shouldn't have. So I felt bad. It was
Yeah,
out of
you
my
made a
hands.
bond.
Yeah, it was out of my hands, man. So they shipped
Yeah.
me up there. I meet some homeboys. We're all good. It's all love. And they're like, man, we heard about you guys in Nellis. And I'm giving them the rundown of how it was, and they're giving me the rundown of how it is here. And at that time, we were going at it with the Fresno Bulldogs, which for those of you that don't know, and I'm sure a lot of you do, the Fresno Bulldogs is an entity of itself. It was once part of the Northern movement. They broke off in prison and it trickled down throughout Northern California, whereas the Bulldogs are their own gang. They're basically on their own. They run, they do their thing. And they're to be respected, man. They've still been around and they're still rocking to this day. And I got a lot of love for the Bulldogs. But we were at it with the Bulldogs daily in Preston. It started in Nellis in early '93 is when we got the Wheeler saying for us to, separate. And they basically just stopped being a part of the Northern movement, part of the Northern cause, and just doing their own thing. They went solo bolo, but they were still leaning sideways like some cholos. Anyways, so here we are in Preston, and the funk is on. And now I'm seeing how to really do it. I'm seeing how wheelers are flying. I'm seeing how it's very structured, very political. Southerners were doing their own things. Now it was reversed where they weren't that deep. But the way we did it was we didn't oppress them every day. Not like I said, Southerners had always been up north. So they kind of had their own program. It was just like, if it's on, then it's on at that particular time. If not, they do theirs, we do ours. And that's pretty much how it was. Now, of course, there was a lot of oppression going on there, meaning that a lot of these COs, they were called GSs, that worked there, a lot of them were active gang members. At that time, we didn't say active or non-active. This is pre that. They were gang members, or they had family that were, so they had some type of, what would I say? They had some type of love or some type of allegiance.
It's an involvement. It's an
involvement. They had involvement, man. They had some type of, they had love for him. Basically, there's another word for it. It's escaping me. Some type of loyalty. But anyway, so they had family members that were from up north. So a lot of these Southerners had to go through a lot of hard times and a lot of troubles because a lot of these COs or GSs that worked there would put them in predicaments that they shouldn't put them in. Open up doors in Tamarack, which was the hole that they shouldn't open. Take them to the gym area with 20 Northerners and just 2 of them. And, there was a lot going on. And it happened down south too, man. I remember actually going every day to the square, and there was one CO, man, and he had avenues behind his ear. And I was just like, God damn, right? I hope he doesn't take flight on me. And he was a cop. So it was like my life was in their hands.
Yeah.
And this guy he's against what I believe in,
Yeah.
So that was pretty bad and stuff. But I seen it more up north because these cops, you got to understand, man, Preston is located in Ione, California, which is in between Stockton and Sacramento, way out in the country by Mule Creek Prison. And a lot of these guards that work there were either from Sacramento or Stockton area. So predominantly in Sacramento and Stockton is Norteño barrios. There's a lot of Norteños there. That's the majority. Now, there's a lot of other gangs, but that's the majority when it comes to Hispanics, Chicanos. There was a lot of, so every Chicano that worked at these places as a CO had either a family member that was a Norteño, was dating one, knew one, got done wrong by one or something. So the Sureños would be coming up short there, and it was just sad to see. Now, I'm going to take it back to Nellis. I remember one incident that happened. I've talked about it, which will tell you how we weren't too different from each other, regardless of what we were going through and where we were at. Was I was actually in the classroom. I was in the classroom in the school area. And like I said, man, you maybe made one or two classes. By the third period, it was on and cracking. You were either in the infirmary or on your way back to the hole. Because it went off every single day. It wasn't a day that it didn't. But I'm sitting in this classroom first period. And this classroom, I hated this classroom because this particular teacher was is an old man. He couldn't hear. He was hard of hearing. This guy would actually be writing on the chalkboard, doing his own trip, and there'd be fights happening right behind him, and he didn't even know what was going on. So it was a dangerous place for me, being the only Norteño in that class. So I guess word on the curb was that they were supposed to hit me in this class. Someone had came up with the bright idea that he was going to hit me. He was going to sit behind me and stab me. And I had heard lightweight about it, but I didn't know if it was really going to happen. It never happened. It usually hardly cracked off like that in the class. People wanted to get their issue so it would crack off outside of the classroom. But I'm waiting. And I guess I'm not paying good enough attention because this guy, there's like a vent on the side. He actually reaches into the vent to pull out a piece. He's going to hit me. He would have got me because I wasn't paying attention at this particular time. And another Southsider jumped up. Little Ray from Puente, man, respects always, man, forever. This guy jumps up and he says, "Hey, bro, why are you going to hit him from the back? Why can't you just see him from the front?" Now I'm on alert, like, oh shit, what's going on here? I see this guy with the piece. He's kind of shocked because his own homeboy is getting at him like that. And that dude was like, "That's such it, man. Don't be doing that." You know what I mean? So anyways, he stuck up for me. And I was forever grateful. So fast forward to years later, after leaving Preston, I ended up going to Carl Holton. And that was a different animal in itself, meaning that was a Norteño-based YA. We were deeper there. That we had it controlled. 40 Norteños to a unit. I mean, we were having it our way. Again, there was a lot of shit going on there we're going to get to. But I remember one day coming back, me and the homeboy Bad Boy from Sacramento, we're actually walking back from our school area back into our building, and I see little Ray from Puente, the guy who had backed my play, and he's sitting there. So obviously he had just shipped from down south up north, and he's like a deer in the headlights. He doesn't know what's going on. Now he's on the other side of the land. And I see him, and he sees me, and he's like, "Oh, shit," right? And I immediately went up to him, shook his hand, told him, "Bro, don't trip. No one's going to mess with you. It's all good. Now it's karma. For everything for what you did for me, it's going to come back to you." And I got at everybody in the building and said, "This guy is not to be touched. This is a good dude right here. Yeah, this guy deserves his utmost. This guy backed my play," and he was able to do his thing. He was able to do his thing, man. And so it was all love. But anyways, so that's how me, I had respect for everyone, man. I didn't look at anyone as, "I hate you, I hate your neighborhood, I hate your dad, homie." I didn't, none of that. There was never any of that in my heart. I was always a firm and true believer, and it was us against the administration first and foremost. The K9 was the opposition. They were the ones putting us in all these areas to go at it. They were manipulating the masses. See, people don't see it that way. They see it as, "Nah, that's my enemy. It's on a cracker. We're going to get it." Nah, they ain't none of that. The administration and the K9, first and foremost, are the ones that oppress the people and put them in these predicaments to get off on each other. You know, there's certain ways to go about things and to keep it righteous, but they are underhanding and demeaning in the way they do their things. That's period. I'll put that out there right now for people that got a misconception thinking that the administration or the police are good at all points of time. That's not always a good thing. Okay. So I get to Carl Holton again, and there's nothing but Norteños. There's a few Sureños, a few Bulldogs, but we're so deep at this time. Nobody wants to really get involved in that mix, and it's not because we're bigger or badder or better. None of that. That had nothing to do with it. It was a losing cause. You can't, when you're one or two guys, you can't fight 40 or 50, right? Yeah. But the way we conducted ourselves was with a little bit more. We already knew about Sudan. See, you got to understand, being raised up north in Northern California, we're aware of who the opposition are. We're aware of the Southerners being the opposition. Whereas being down south, they've never seen us. There's not Norteños down south. So they're not aware until they're laced up by their older homies in prison that have been incarcerated, or people that have been in YA into just who we are and what our get down is. Now, those are the ones that know. But for the most part, the guys that are just living their hood turf politics, that means more to them than me. You know,
Yeah.
they don't even know who I am. They have no type of animosity towards me. Now, of course, we get incarcerated. It's a different story. Business is business. Pleasure is pleasure. Um, but that's how I went, man. That's how I went in YA. I seen a lot of stuff happen as a young child. I wasn't supposed to see, man. You know, a lot of people talk about, you know, they see these movies and they talk about like prison, bad things happen to people in cells. You know, guys taking advantage or pressing up on people. It did happen in the youth authority. You know, people were getting oppressed. People were getting advantage taken of them. There was a lot of bullies using bullying tactics. For
Yeah.
the most part, on the northern side, you know, because I can't speak for everyone, I would say that we weren't involved in those reindeer games. We didn't look at it in a good light. If you were into that, you're gonna be all the way into that and far away from us. But you weren't going out without a fucking scratch on your face. Believe me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, what I mean, we were gonna make sure that our presence was felt that way. But I did see a lot of that going on. I seen people go 5150 JCAT out. Just couldn't take it. Couldn't take being away from their families. Couldn't take being not getting canteen when other people got it, not getting visits. And so it messed with your mind. You know, you got to understand a lot of these people in YAs are not fully developed. They're not grown men.
Well, they're young. Their mentality is young. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
they're gonna act the way they are.
Yes, exactly. They have a different type of mentality. So when they're put in certain situations, they don't know how to react.
Yeah.
You know, with being a gang member, we're taught how to react, you know, to certain situations. We're taught pride and indifference and who cares and the I don't give a fuck attitude
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
whatever. You know what I mean? Take flight where you're mad at type attitude. Whereas a lot of these guys that weren't really from gangs but got put in YA because they were out there acting a fool, you know, boo boo the fool. Now they find themselves incarcerated around some heavy hitters or some guys striving to be heavy hitters.
Yeah.
And these guys, they would cat out. They would JK. They couldn't take it. They couldn't take the heat. And it wasn't like you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. There was nowhere to go. You know, wherever they put you, all it did was let other people, the predators and the people know, oh shit, we got easy money right here. Here's a victim.
Yeah.
And everybody would victimize everyone if they had the chance. That was the mentality there. Only the strong survived.
Yeah.
You know. But
Yeah.
yeah, man. So that was pretty much my journey through YA. And I mean, it gets a lot more detailed.
Now, as far as the politics
Yeah.
with the people inside, as far as the COs and all these people, I mean, we could tell right off the gun that, you know, when you're going in at that young age, you're going in to get supposedly rehabilitated.
Yeah.
From the story I'm hearing and what I've heard on the outside is that rehabilitation ain't so you basically you're going in like we talked about before, you're going in with one mindset but you're coming out with a totally different one, and
Oh
most
yeah.
of the time it's brought about because of those guards that were hooked up with other cliques that were doing all kind of stupid shit. That's one thing that to me it's foul. It's foul.
Oh, absolutely. There was no sense of reform or rehabilitation or
Nah,
helping.
man.
There was none of that. If you wanted to take like a social thinking skills class or things like that, they'll
Yeah.
throw you a packet and say have it done whenever you have it done. You
Nah,
know,
that's
anything that you learned, school, the teachers weren't teaching you anything. They were going in there putting on music, and you don't bother them. Don't fuck with me, and I won't fuck with you. Right?
yeah, yeah.
Basically, that's what it was. It wasn't. There wasn't anything similar to rehabilitation happening. I remember they brought one guy, and one thing he did say stuck with me forever. So in that sense, I could say, okay, he had an intricate impact on my life. But he told me practice doesn't make perfect; it makes permanent, right? And he told me, he said, and he told everyone, he was in the front of I don't even know who this guy was. He looked like a tweaker. But anyways, he was up there and he was like saying all kinds of stuff and it was all flying over my head. But that one thing stuck to me because he said there's a lot of people like football players, they practice and practice and practice. And, you know, there's an old saying, practice makes perfect. He goes, just because you practice doesn't mean you're going to be perfectly good at it, but you're going to know how to do it. Right?
Exactly.
So practice doesn't make perfect, it makes permanent. But what he told us, man, and I thought it was discouraging to a lot of us. He said there's 73 people on this unit. Look around you. So we all looked around, you know. I mean, we're playing the role. We're all gang members here, like, yeah, whatever. And he said, 71 of you guys are going to prison. One of you guys is going to die. And the other one is going to get out and change his life. Who are you going to be? And I remember saying, shit, I'm going to prison, right? That was my mentality right there. I didn't even think, oh, I'm going to be the guy to go out there and do good. I wasn't ready. I wasn't willing. I wasn't able. That was not even my mindset. Of course, everybody was like, well, I don't want to die. I'm going to prison. But that showed you the mindset of a lot of people, because everybody was going prison, prison, prison. And of course, the biggest, most vicious gang member there was like, shit, I'm going to get out and do good. Well, he was the first one that went to prison. A couple of weeks later, he stabbed somebody. But that was the statistics. And I understand some people are very analytical and they go by statistics. That's understandable. But to tell a whole bunch of youth, 71 of you guys are going to prison, you're basically telling them they got no chance.
Yeah.
No encouragement there.
He was doing that paycheck. That's what it is. It's a paycheck to them.
Yeah. He was in there like, he was in there giving us statistics. All right, you guys are going to prison. You're going to get out. You're going to die. All right, bye. Can I get let me get my $50? Yeah, and but that was the mentality of the administration. We were being housed, utilized as numbers. It wasn't about reform. There was no child reform there. Now with them shutting down all these youth authorities and everything that happened there, now that's true reform.
Yeah.
Right? Because really they had to get rid of that, because basically what you were doing is housing and making career criminals. You know, there was no
the worst of the worst. You know what I mean?
They had the worst of the worst that they got from California. Now I know they do still have a lot of youth authorities in different states, New York City. Every different state has their own youth reform or whatever they want to call it. But in California, there's I think one left, which is Chad. Other than that, they're shutting them down. And I know that's to be closed soon too. Reason being is they were, like I said, they were just creating career criminals. This was just a step right under prison, okay? And that's just what it was. You know, it wasn't like they were trying to help anyone, and it wasn't like any of that. It was more so just, hey, you messed up on the streets. Let's throw all the riffraff together and let them fight it out. And at the end, man, hopefully these guys, the ones that are stronger, will do something bad to the ones that are weaker. They'll eliminate and eradicate them, and then we can send these ones to prison and continue to make money. And that's what happened, man.
It's all what it all comes down to, man. At the end of the day, it's all political and it's all about money, point blank. You know what I mean?
Cool. Period.
You got to see. I mean, look at the people now that are incarcerated. You know, what do they got to look forward to after coming out? After going through what you were just saying?
Yeah.
That's all they live. That's all they know how to do. They're gonna go right back, you know. And it's sad. It's a sad situation.
Yeah, it is, man. And you actually get. It was funny because at that time, the '90s, we actually got labeled, which they still talk about as YA babies, and they looked at us as YA babies because we had that different type of mentality from the old school convict. We were a little bit more wild, boisterous, flamboyant, didn't care, and that was because of the situations we got put in. You know, we got put in situations where you had to have that attitude of get off and don't even think twice and just handle it. I've seen so many people get off with GS's cops, flight them. And it was, I mean, these guys put them in, you put a youngster in a certain situation and he, like I say, it's either fight or flight syndrome. And there was nowhere to go to. So what else, other option did they give them? And that's what it was. But man, they labeled us YA babies, and there's a stigma that goes on. Oh, the YA babies, you know, and now it trips me out because a lot of these convicts that are in prison now are part of my era, you know, and a lot of them are lifers. A lot of my friends are lifers. They're doing multiple life sentences that I was in YA with, North and South, and people trip. They're like, man, these guys, they're vicious. And it's not that, it's, they never had that opportunity to grow. They never had that opportunity to change. They were basically incarcerated as a youngster. And I understand you do the crime, you got to do the time. But man, as a youth, come on, man, try to help these. They would, man, I'd be thrown in the hole for 2-3 months at a time and forgotten about. You know,
it's sad because they're not giving the youth the help they need. They're just throwing them in there and basically, you know, fend for yourself. And that's something that I don't agree with. Now, with you doing your time and stuff like that, during your run there, was there any OGs coming to you and giving you that talking to?
So they did one time. They had a thing, and then still around. I think they have a thing called Victory Outreach, And I remember one time I was on Kennedy Hall, man, in Nellis, and they were telling us some guys from Victory Outreach were going to come. So we were thinking, okay, some old veteranos give us their story, Bible thumping,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
whatever. We were already our mentality. We ain't trying to hear what these guys got to preach, but it was nothing like we expected. They brought in an individual from Fresno. They brought in an individual from down south in LA, and they brought two guys who were from up north. One was from Gilroy, the other one was from San Jose. And I swear to you, that day room, there was no Africanos that came. It was Victory Outreach was more Latino based, but they separated. Everybody separated to their own group, which that was a trip to me. And the Northerners were over here talking to here. The Bulldog was talking to his people. The Southerners were talking to their people. There was no mixing and mingling.
yeah.
You know, and I know from our side, from what I heard, they were just like, how is it in here? Hey, bro, stand strong. Handle your guys' business. It was no church stuff, no help. It was like, how are the homies doing? You know, I mean, they were lacing us up. Bro, you guys know how to make pieces. And I was just like, oh shit, right? That's about as close as it got to any OGs giving us the rundown. Being down south, now up north, we were getting missives from prison that were traveling to certain people, and we were structured enough to have a pipeline basically of words traveling from prison on how we were supposed to conduct ourselves as grown men and not involve ourselves in frivolous antics, right? And like I said, as we went up north, it got more structured, it got more political, it got more, we hold it down for the north first and foremost, instead of just being selfish about canteen and oppressing people for their shit.
Yeah.
It was more about striving and how we looked as a people. And that was actually better. Believe it or not, I know a lot of people like, and myself, man, being a non-active gang member, I would like to think, yeah, it's always better on the grass is greener on the other side and whatever. But sometimes, man, when you have righteous words being spoken to you and people are trying to help you to, okay, you're already here, you're stuck. Carry yourself like a man. Carry yourself with some sense of pride and stability. Then be real about it. You know, be real about it. Just because you're no longer at the directive of a certain group, or just because you're no longer functioning doesn't mean to start telling on everyone. It doesn't mean to lower your morals and your standards. And you're a man, okay? Yeah. Before you're a gang member and before anything else, you're a man. Conduct yourself like one. Have respect for other people. Have morals, values, man, and stick to the code, right? Now, of course, you might not still be a gangster, homie, but you're still about that code. The code in life doesn't never change. You know what I mean? And that's what I adhere to. That's how I carry myself in life.
Well, you know how they say it. They say, you know, you could take the boy out the hood, but you can't take the hood out the boy.
Yeah. Motherfuckers' fingers don't forget how to squeeze, right? But at the same time, if you're trying to live your life in a different direction, you know where to go and where not to go to put yourself in them situations.
Right.
Now, if I'm at a club, I don't go to clubs, you know. If I'm at a club, though, and someone steps on my feet, where back in the days it was flight immediately.
Yeah.
Now, as a grown man, I could say, okay, maybe he got bumped. Maybe he bumped into me on accident.
Yeah.
Maybe he had a little too much to drink. You know, there's a lot of maybes that could go into it, and I'm able to give you the one pass. Do it again, it's a different story. Now I go back to riot baby mentality. Yeah, because now I feel disrespected, you know?
Yeah.
But that has nothing to do with being a gang member. That's part of being a man. And that's something that wasn't taught to us in YA. It's something that they didn't instill in us. That was something that was taught person to person, or you just picked it up in life somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
And you know, and that's pretty much what it was with my whole YA thing. I got out of YA, and nothing changed. I got out. All YA did was give me long enough to grow along Mongolian, which was a northern symbolization of what a warrior. I got out rocking that Mongolian, and by 6 months later, I was in the county jail. Wow. So it was a whole bunch of wasted time.
What was the total you did, brother?
Of time period?
Youth and adult.
19 years.
19 years.
19 years, yeah.
So you sit back now, being where you're at now, you know, you're in a position where you're not in that life, you're not doing that, you're working, you're doing your thing. You look back at that. Is there any kind of remorse, you know what I'm saying, of wasting those years of your life? You know what I mean?
No. It is because the man I am today, every single little thing, everything that happened, every drop of blood I shed, every sweat, every hardship I went through made me the man I am today.
There you go.
You know, I'm not going
Some
to sit
people
here
I
and
hear them
say,
say that.
yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh man, I wish I would have been out there, because guess what? If I'd have been out there, yeah, I might have got a little bit more pussy. Yeah, I might have got a little bit more high. But guess what? At the end of the day, man, I was where I belonged.
Yeah,
Okay, I was in the mix. I
yeah.
killed somebody. I deserved to do the time.
What you
Now, a
want?
lot
Yep,
of the things I went through, I don't wish upon anyone, but those happened in my life for a reason. I'm a true believer in things happen for a reason,
yep.
and the reasoning behind them is unexplainable. But at the same time, I grew up out of that. I'm at where I'm at now. I'm content where I'm at, and irregardless of how some people feel, because they still want to be about that business.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
I still got a lot of love for a lot of real ones, and a lot of real ones got love for me. Believe that. Bang
Well,
bang.
you know what it is for me is you get older, man. When you get older, it's like you learn from your mistakes. You learn from everything in life, and that right there, you could pass on to your kids and make sure your kids don't go that route. You know what I mean? Because I've
Absolutely.
done it with mine. I got five brothers, so they
Yep.
all out the house, and knock on wood, bro. They they doing their thing. So it is what it is. But I mean,
Yeah.
I want to see a lot of the youth go in a different level. They want to take it
Yeah.
somewhere else instead of putting their mind on the street, and doing
Hey,
certain
babe, I
things.
love
They're their own. How can I tell you? They have their own minds and stuff like that. But at the end of
you.
the day, I don't want to see them kids go in there and then start saying, "Damn, I should have listened. Damn, I should have done this." Because just like me, when you think about something and somebody told you that shit, you're like, "Damn, I should have listened." Fuck, you know
Damn,
what I'm
homie, I
saying?
should have went left. You
Yep.
know what I mean? I told the homeboy to go left. That motherfucker went right. All we did was end
Yep.
up in a circle. I tell everyone that. That's one of my sayings.
Yep.
Um, if you keep going right, man, you're just gonna keep going in a circle, right?
Yep.
Hit that left one time. Go see what it does down that street, man. You never know. You know what I mean? You
Never know
set me
what's
down
gonna
that
take
street,
you.
man. You know what I mean? Well, hey, it depends on, right? Shit happens. But
It is
if
what
you
it
don't,
is.
if you keep doing the same old thing, you're gonna keep getting the same old results.
Yep. Yep.
Every once in a while in life, it's okay to take a different route, man, and see what's going on over here. You know?
Let's see. I'm gonna see somebody in the chat over here. I want to see if one of my super wrenches could
I
throw
love
up
you too.
your link there.
Yeah, definitely, man.
No.
Definitely, man. For those of you that are not tapped in, man, tap in with Gunners Collective. I drop spills daily, 6 to 7 days a week. A little bit of everything, man. You never know how I'm coming. I do comedy, I do music, I do everything. I'm
I was
universal,
watching it.
right?
Yep, I was watching. I was laughing my ass off. I ain't gonna front,
Yeah,
man.
I'm universal, man. And then you know what? I was gifted with that. It's just my mentality. I come from that '90s era of gang banging and capping, right? And I sure b-boy shit, all that. You know what I mean?
Yep, yep,
Where where we were able to get our bang on, but at the same time, when you're amongst your loved ones, your homeboys, we capped a little bit. We had a good time,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and that's what it was. You had to have a strong mind and a strong heart to deal with it, and it's what made us men.
What's your
So I do
feeling
that, man.
what's your feeling now on like in the '90s and stuff when you guys were doing your thing with now? You know what I mean? The difference is now with then.
A big difference. A big difference. I'm not going to necessarily be a hater and say that this younger generation ain't with the business, but it's not all about being with the business. It's about being a man and conducting yourself as such, right? I believe there was a lot more respect for your fellow man in the '90s, and everything was kept more on a professional level as far as gang banging or living life. It was what it was, man. We weren't playing. There was no talking about it. We were going to jump in the ride and somebody was going to get handled. And that's what it was. The '90s was a treacherous, dangerous era, especially coming right after the '80s. And we all know how that was, man. The '80s was no punk either. But I could only speak on the '90s and say that it was a dangerous time, but it was a time that I loved. I loved the music. I loved the movies. I loved the pop culture.
Yeah,
A lot more goes into the '90s besides gang banging, right? Gang banging was part of it. Some of the better movies came out in the '90s. American Me, Blood In, Blood Out. Of course, you got Boys in the Hood. And these movies played an intricate part into gangbanging, period. If
yeah,
people
yeah.
didn't see colors, they would have never knew about South Central LA. If people didn't see breaking, they wouldn't know. If people didn't see Beat Street, they wouldn't know about New York, right?
Yep.
There's a lot of movies play a big part. And now what's going on nowadays with this era is social media. See, social media has taken over. This hip hop
Big
generation
time.
is infused itself. So everyone thinks in order to be a gang member, you just got to get a few tattoos, a few ice cream cones, a lightning bolt right here. That'll scare something that's just s'mores with the
Yeah.
marshmallow, and you're good, right? But at the end of the day, that's not what makes you a gangster or a man. This right here and this is what makes
That's
you a
right.
gangster and a man, right?
That's right.
And not necessarily you're a man because you're a gangster or you're a gangster because you're a man, because I know some women that'll let you top off one time too. But I'm saying it's just the way you carry yourself and the way your attitude is what becomes you. It's what you are.
Yep.
And that's and so I think that's the big difference there. I think the clothing has nothing to do with that. I clown a lot saying these fucking pants are so tight, it's constricting the blood. That's why a lot of these guys can't think. But it has nothing to do with the clothing, because in our time we wore hammer pants and I thought those were funny too. Cabarichis, you know what I mean? So it's not the clothing, it's not the style, it's the mentality. They have a different mentality. They're in for shock and awe value. They're in for how much people see them do the crime, where we were in for, we don't want nobody to see us do this shit.
Yeah, because now they do something. They put it on, like you said, social media. You go
exactly
on YouTube. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Exactly. We were up to part where it's like, okay, we want to go handle business. So and so can go, but no one else, because he'll tell on us probably, right? That was our mentality. We were always scared about getting told on, right? Where the mentality now is they want everyone to see it because they feel it's clout. It gives them some type of sense of pride. Look, you see me, I smacked them on broad daylight. I did that. Okay, you're gone though. That's it. You're done. You are done. It is
what it is, man. I say it like nowadays, it's not like back when we were growing up. When we were growing up, it was, you know, you got busted, you got popped for something, man. They hit you with phone books. They did all kind of shit to you. Now they smack you once, you open your mouth, start talking, they got to smack you like 30, 40 times just so you can shut the fuck up. You know, that's just the way it is.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. And it's just a different mentality, man. And I blame a lot of that on our era, because our era was so aggressive and so real that we were all incarcerated. We couldn't lace up these youngsters.
Yeah.
And so they had the babysitter mentality, which was something substituted for these men that weren't home raising their children, or these men that were incarcerated because they were being so real. And that was a computer. See, a computer, a tablet, and that took over. They became babysitters, and they started to influence the masses. And this hip hop generation, everything they see is what they're adhering to, man. That's all they see. You can't be mad at a person for doing what they do. That's all they know, you know. And that's
everything's a hustle, bro.
I see you.
Everything's a hustle, man. Especially like on YouTube, everything's a hustle. You know, I remember growing up, we had Eric B, Rakim. You had all these cats out in California. Yes, but now, what do you look at now? Some two cats singing Island Boy. What the hell is that shit?
I stay as far away from them gay cats as I can, man. I'm still with DJ Quick and NWA on my side, right? I'm gonna keep it true. You know what I mean? I'm gonna keep it Eric B, Rakim. I'm gonna keep it KRS-One. You know what I mean? Hey, you know what I mean? I did it once. I did it twice. See, now there's steak with the beans and rice. You feel me? I'm gonna always keep it G. And to me, that's gangster. These guys were talking about the struggle from the streets. They went to island boys.
Yeah.
Don't do that shit.
Yo, guess who just popped up, bro?
Man, an hour late and $2 short.
Let's drop this dude on. Hold on. Oh, look, there it is.
Back in the motherfucking house.
What's cracking, brother? I'm almost out of breath. What's happening?
Yeah, I apologize, man, but man, you know how it goes, man. I just had a blast with my daughters, man. I just barely dropped them off, man. So, you know what I mean? It made my day, I tell you that.
Yes, indeed. Babies come first.
Yeah, so I'm kind of flying high right now. Feel me?
So what's up, bro? Now that you missed the show, you know, Gunner was ready to go get something to eat and all this stuff.
Yeah, no, I've been watching it. Then when we left the mall, because I took him to the movies, and then we went to the arcade and stuff. But I was watching on the way when we left the movies, and then I tapped in, and then I tapped out real quick, and then I tapped back in. But I wasn't aware that Carlos wasn't going to be there. Otherwise, I would have, you know,
Carlos is in the chat, bro.
Yeah. I believe, bro. Again, man, my gratitude for the no-fly zone, because I believe the no-fly zone's on the uptake, man. I feel comfortable on this platform, able to come here with some people from the East Coast. Of course, my boy Big Lou from the West, Tracy, stand up. You already know what it is. And to express my thinking, you know, on a channel where it's pretty much an open forum, man. And I respect that. You know, I respect it.
Well, that's what it is. You know, we started it. We're jumping into all kind of little things. You know, my main thing, like we spoke about, is if somebody that's, in the chat or somebody's listening, they can take a lot of our experiences and think about it and say, damn, do I want to go that route? You know what I'm saying? Just to
Oh, yeah.
help people, even people that are coming out the joint now and need help. Maybe we could steer them in a direction where they can go, and they can
Well,
get that help.
yeah,
That's our
me
main
and
thing.
Gun, we know a few people. And we were talking the other day about
Yeah.
reaching out to a OG cat that did almost 5 decades in the pen.
Yeah.
He did about four. He did 4.5 decades, and I mean, I'm talking straight, not 45 in and out. He did 45 straight. I
Yeah.
mean,
And
45 years is a lot either way.
one,
Add it up,
yeah.
but
One of
this
the
guy did it
realest,
straight,
one
and
of
he
the
only
real,
came in. He only came in with like a 16-month term for like a
yeah.
GTA Grand Theft Auto or something like that, and he turned it into 45 plus years. And his co-defendant did like 47 or 48.
Yeah.
And he's out. He's
He's
out
as
now
real as
too.
they come.
So
Bro, that's
I want to try to tap in with him, and that way he could touch on the big culture shock. Just imagine that you left in 1971, you know what I mean, and you're coming out in 2015,
yeah,
2016,
that,
whatever it was,
Yeah.
how that was, and then the work that he's doing now, you know what I mean. So he's working with guys now that are, I think majority are lifers, and they're the reentry
Reentry.
program pretty much,
Oh man, a great program out of San
Yeah,
Francisco, man.
yeah.
Tap in one time, man, if you don't know about it. But we'll say that for another day because hopefully
definitely,
you can
man.
get him on here, man. And this guy's amazing. Just what he's been through, the history that he's been through.
Yeah.
No one else can touch that. This guy
Yeah.
is.
Yeah,
That's really
I think maybe later he might want to touch on that, but honestly, because I know his history, you know his history.
Yeah.
He's a very how would you say, he's a very important part in the history of the Northern California
Very, very
fight over here.
important part.
But
Yeah.
I don't even want to, I want our audience to hear, he could touch on, he did the 45 years straight, the 17 in the hole straight, but I want him to talk about how, his life now, how he's met, Steph
Yeah.
Curry, and he kicked it with Snoop Dogg, and he's kicked it with
Yeah.
Marshawn
He met a
Lynch,
lot of
and
people.
just the work they're doing, you know what I mean?
And
So
that happened.
those are cats that, at the end of the day, they could have done whatever they did and did their time for it. I'm a real believer in, if you do the time, bro, you come out, you shouldn't be judged, for that crime your whole life. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? That shit,
Yeah.
I'm not into that. So I like seeing people come on and, just having their shit together, and they ain't got to worry about that, because there's a lot of brothers that are still going through that struggle. They come out, they need help, point blank. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
It's, it is what it is.
There's a good question in the chat right here from David. He says, "How are boys meant to learn about manhood and manners without a father?" That's simple. That's simple. That's why platforms like this are provided on YouTube with older gentlemen and people from all walks of life that have been around the block, not necessarily in prison or jail, but as men. As you can see, Lou just got back from doing his thing with his daughters. I myself had my daughter earlier doing my thing. This gentleman, man, works all day, does his thing, and continues to put forth this content on YouTube to help guys that are out there, man, not necessarily men, but women as well, is to instill better morals and values and kind of give you a mindset and a heads up of how big and bad this world is and what streets you need to walk down and where you need to go and not go. Of course, you're not going to get everything. We can't instill everything in you, but you take little bits and pieces for what it's worth, and you formulate your own plot and plan. That's how I did it. My dad wasn't there either. And I got locked up as a youngster and had to learn my own way. But the morals and values that were instilled in me at a very young age, I continue with those now. And then I push those on people in my platform. And platforms are like this is what I look forward to gain knowledge.
Yeah. And our other co-host Carlos, he's raising his little boy. His little boy, I think, is 8, I believe. And he's doing a hell of a job, man. You know what I mean? We've talked to the little youngster, and he's got a lot of respect, and he's and he's not one of them shy kids. I mean, he speaks up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, he's definitely doing things that he didn't have in his life. Uncles and stuff like that. Yeah. But the father, you know what I mean? My dad's always been around, bro. But my dad was really, my dad, is from the hood, been in YA also. My dad was in California Youth Authority in 1955, 1956. He went in at 12 for stealing cars. So he's born in 42. So what is that? 54, 55. Yeah. He was in what's that one down there? Paso. YTS he was in. You know what I mean? So
that's my Chino prison. TS.
Yeah. So Yeah, and then back then there was no north and south. There it was just cholos, pachucos,
Yeah.
whatever you call them, and you know what I mean. But my dad was always really easy going. My mom was the one that whipped that ass. Now, you know what I mean.
Oh
You
yeah,
know?
my
But
mom too.
yeah. So
Just do with my hand.
yeah, it just and that's another thing. Everybody, people, they don't necessarily got to be your kids, bro. Your nephews, your little cousins, male cousins. They could
Yeah.
just be kids in the neighborhood, kids that you happen to run across. I had this kid one day, bro. I'm at the car wash driving up my Cadillac, and this kid drives up on me, and he's saying something. He got a mask on though, right? And I'm like, huh? And he's jamming me up, bro. Where I'm from. And he looks like he's like 16, 17 years old. You know what I mean? And I walked closer to him, like, listen, what'd you say? And I think he had a pistol on his lap, because when I went closer, he kind of like covered something. And I'm
Yeah.
like, bro, I said, at first I got mad because I'm like, dude, who the fuck you think you are, man? I'm like, you're a kid, bro. I'm like 3 times your age. Like, what the fuck? And then I told him, I said, you know what, kid? I said, look, man, you might want to think about what you're doing, because I said, one freaking mistake, one little second it takes to make that mistake, and you're gonna lose your life. You're gonna be in the joint for the rest of your life, or worse, dead.
Yeah, because he's going to be forced to use that. See what he has on his lap. He's having it there for looks. Most people are having it there for looks, and they figure, just like you do. You seen it, you kind of, whoa, you have to rework the plan here, right?
Yeah.
But if you force him to use it, that's when you find out.
I didn't actually see nothing. I'm just thinking that's what he had.
But I'm saying, if he does have something like that, and a lot of youngsters do now, they feel a sense of empowerment because they're riding around pistol up, right?
Yep.
You're gonna have to use it, man. Not everyone can use it. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, we know that. Yeah, we know
Not
that.
everybody can use. Just because you got one, you got one doesn't mean you can use it, man. I'm gonna tell you.
Right.
Listen, my old man used to tell me, if you're gonna pull a pistol out, you better use it, point blank. He was like, don't pull it out just for show or to scare somebody. He was like, don't ever do that. And I always kept that in my mind, bro. Don't ever pull a gun out if you ain't gonna use it.
And that's what do we always say, gun, when cats come to the pen that are shooters on the street?
Yeah.
Ain't no guns up in here.
There ain't no guns, man.
Ain't no guns up in here. You're gonna mind somebody.
Go ahead, secure that.
Yeah. You're gonna mind somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Straight up.
Everyone there's dealt the same hand, man. It's how you play that hand. That's what it is. And that's coming from the northern aspect of it. There's no, I don't give a fuck what you're in here for, what you've done on the streets. Secure that. That's it. Secure that. I'll see you on the yard. Secure that. Oh, but bro, I've been doing this. Secure that, bro. I don't care, bro. None of that.
They ain't knowing. Bro. Yeah. I don't even speak on none of that stuff. Like what you're saying right now, I've never talked about none of that on any of these shows I've been on. People got no idea what I've had to do, what you've had to do, what we've had to do.
And
on just that word, security, right?
Yeah,
that's
security.
It's
part of life.
I think about, because it's like that in life general. I mean, people don't know. You don't know what that person's life has been or what they about. Unfortunately, we're in a generation that everything is, blah, 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 blah. It's just the way it is, man. Sometimes you just got to say, you know what?
Hey, Gun, what about this one? What about when you got to go, you're asked for something and you got to get it out the vault, right? And you better not pass that thing along smelling like you know what.
No, and that's why one of the first things, that's why when you get a good celly, one of the first things you're doing is you learn how to properly secure something. You learn how to properly package it up, right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, because if you hand someone something with like that, you're gonna be DP.
Exactly. And DP to everybody means discipline. If you pass something along smelling like poo poo doo poo, you're gonna get some DP. You're gonna be pushing some concrete.
And that's part of the California prison system, man. And not to really elaborate too much on it, but I will say this: if you're involved, you're gonna secure. There's no any guy that says, "Well, I never had to do that in prison." He's lying. That's a lie. I call bullshit. You will secure something. That is taught in county jail. That is what happens. That is part of life. It doesn't mean you're a weird. It doesn't mean none of that. It's either do that or the same thing someone else is securing is going to be inside you one way or the other. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
And I know it just seems, but if again, that's why these platforms are provided. If you don't want to have to go that route, then don't go that route. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I would recommend. Because
it's gonna happen.
Yeah, you kids, because they just think, oh, I claim this is what I am on the street running around. Now I'm telling you, if you're part of any of the Latino group segments in California and white, And there's brothers too, blacks that do it
Oh
too,
yeah.
but they're far in between, right? Far in,
Most of
however
the
you say that,
Queens,
right?
most of the Bay
You know,
Area.
there's some gangsters, there's some straight gangsters, especially if they're hustling and stuff like that. But you will be putting something up in the vault, straight up.
100%.
And people always say, "Oh, that's only an exit. That's not an entry and shit." Yeah, well, okay,
You better
yeah,
learn that door has.
yeah. Like I said a little while ago, you will mind somebody. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And if you try to think you're gonna get away with trying to like hide it in your cell and tell them, "Yeah, I got to put away,"
Your seller's gonna tell on you.
not only that, it's gonna come out in the wash anyways. You're gonna end up getting caught up anyway. Period.
Yeah, it's gonna happen, man. It's part of and that's part of. See, that's part of being a gang member, part of being a part of a prison organization, or part of being locked up. See, people, they only look at I could do that. I can go out on the yard. I'll hit someone. I'm a savage. I'm a gangster about it. Okay, we'll secure this. Well, hold up, bro. I don't play that stuff. We ain't playing. You know what I mean? Did we say play? You know what I mean? And if you better have a good excuse, because, and I mean a good, I've only seen one time where a guy got a pass, and that was because he actually had the HIV, right? So we gave him the pass on that because, of course, he couldn't be passing. You know what I mean? And even then, the homeboy was like thinking about it. I was like, shit, right?
Yeah. Excuse me what I'm going to say, but when you have that, you get a pass, and you can't put nothing in your mouth or in the vault.
Yeah. No,
even though it sounds funny, but it is what it is because of the saliva and the body, the bodily fluids and stuff like that. Yeah,
exactly.
They'll give somebody a
That's
pass.
fine. That was a homeboy, and that happened right there. I was in a Tracy J wing, man, second tier, and the guy had just got out of K wing out of the hole, and he came, and him and his cellie just came, and we were actually in need. And I don't want to go into too much detail, but we needed a TS. You know what I'm talking about, Lou? I got at him because he was a homeboy that had been around for a while. And he was actually out of the Stockton area, and I got at him, shot him some paper down there, and I was like, "Man, we need you. It's highly encouraged. This, and that." And I shot everything down there, the bundle, like, go ahead and secure that. And he shot me back, saying, "Hey, I can't secure it. This is why." And then I said, and I had shot him some extensive. I said, "Well, tell your cellie to secure it. You still got the position, but your cellie's going to secure it." His cellie was sad, like, "Fuck, double up, right?"
Battery packs.
Straight up.
I know, bro. I know, man.
Fanta bottles. Go ahead, man. Tell your cellie to handle that. And I got his bundle too. Like, what? Right? And that's the way. That's part of life.
It's funny. It's funny, bro. It's funny. You know, it is funny, especially if you've never been there or you don't. You haven't been there and actually had to do that. It sounds funny, but it's one of those ugly parts of going to prison and being part of a group segment.
It's an ugly truth.
Even further, an organization. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's an ugly truth. But you know what? Anyone that's been there, done that, lived that life, they don't look at it as an ugly part of the game. They look at it as part of the game. It's just part of the game.
Yes, it goes together like a hand in a glove. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you know what? It's good y'all guys are saying it because now y'all got people thinking on here like, oh shit, they gotta put that shit what?
100%.
That's why I'm saying it. That's why I'm saying it over a couple times because
in different states it could be different, but in California, the wiggle was real. And if you hit a 4-yard or 3-yard, you're gonna secure. You're gonna
level 4 or level 3. Yeah,
the bigger the better. Put it like that.
Put it this way: if you hit a level 4-yard, everybody's carrying a weapon.
Everybody,
right?
100%.
Level 3-yard, depends what yard. Everybody still will be carrying a weapon. But sometimes I've been places where anybody that has a position doesn't have a weapon, but everybody else does. You know, it just depends. You know, whoever's ready to show up.
4 yards Mando.
Yeah, 4 yards Mando, and you also don't go to yard, no night yard. I kind of explained that one. As soon as you come back from Chow, if you get meds, once you get the meds, that's it. You ain't coming back out your cell. No night yard.
Yo, but I got a question for y'all, man. It might sound funny and shit like that, but in those situations where you had them putting, stashing and shit, whatever happened if somebody le metió una patada por el culo while holding that? Yeah, look at this out. What can you imagine that shit? Holy fuck, bro.
I guess you're gonna be feeling it in your heart.
Yeah, you're gonna be feeling that shit, boy.
Hey, it's
no tongue.
There's been plenty of times, brother, where things have turned on people.
Sideways.
I know of. I'm not gonna say I had a study, but my cellie told me a story of he was settled with someone and it turned on him, and it's a fucked up situation because that guy has to go to he's got to go to the infirmary, right?
Yeah.
And he's done. He's going to catch more time because he's going to get found with a piece in him.
Yep.
So it's a catch-22. So every time you're securing something, you're taking a risk. You're taking a risk of infection. You're taking a risk of a lot. But like I said, that goes with being somebody. If you want to be somebody, those are life's a risk, now, right? Life's a risk.
Hey, that's the other thing too. He said infection. Now just keep this in mind. That's why when we were in Tracy, we'd be in Tracy where places where they had the saran wrap. It was highly encouraged that we save that stuff because we're constantly. I mean, when you're involved with this stuff, like I said, Gun, I don't really even talk about this stuff, right? But when you're involved with this, I mean, you're constantly. I mean, you don't really have time to write your family. I mean, you're constantly being, especially in reception center, you're constantly being called from the back window, from the tier, through the vents,
all day
and
long.
you're constantly. You got lines going everywhere, and you're constantly passing gang intelligence and rosters and all kinds of shit and directives and enlightenments and filters and everything else for your people in your building, right?
Exactly.
And you're always assisting the house. You can never deny them when they call for your assistance. You have to drop what you're doing and you got to assist the house, right? You got to assist the house, and that consists of everything. What I'm saying, constantly helping somebody else out. If they can't get something done, you got to do it. Copying things, we call it Xeroxing, but it's basically you just copying things by hand. That's what Xeroxing is. It's a lot of stuff, right?
Because each tier's got to hear that same missive, so that missive's got to be Xeroxed for each tier.
Right. And then everybody has a name on the roster. We call them canas, right? Which is people call them wheelas. That's what you hear them called too. Basically, it's just messages, but everybody has their own nickname on there. It's not the nickname they're known by. It's their tier name. Then you got a kana code. So you got to remember all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes the one tier might be called San Francisco Giants. Next tier might be the Oakland A's, whatever. And it always constantly rotates, and you got to be on top of your game, man. You got to remember.
That's why being a gang member in California doesn't just entail going out there and shooting at the opposition. You have to be an intelligent individual. And that's why only the strong survive and only is the fittest in the jungle, because not only do you use this or these, you have to have this. If you don't have a strong mentality, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to make it, because everything there is a big chess. It's a chess match. It's a chess game. Anytime someone is going off the tier, you're going to come back immediately. We need an OTR. We need an off tier, but we need to know who you've seen, what you've seen, your count, how many people you've seen, how many COs escorted you. Yeah, there's so many things that go into it, and this is constantly, and one person is reviewing it, who's shooting it to the next person who's reviewing it, shooting to the next person reviewing it, and it sounds frivolous, but at the end, it's all about the safety and security of the household and the people, and that's the only thing first and foremost that matters, is the safety and security of the people, to make sure that we are secure, to be able to conduct ourselves and have our social status of equality, our program, to be able to be there, and that's it. That's what it's all about. It's just to be able to be there on that tier where you're at, righteously doing that. That's all it's about. That's what so when you're out there in life thinking, okay, I'm going to be, and you go out there and you do a shooting, then you're going to be fighting every day for your existence of where you're at, because that's what it's about.
And another thing is that when you, with our folks, who we run with, you are going to come in there and it's going to be highly encouraged. And what I mean by that is you don't really have an option. You're gonna, and also administration too. If you don't got your GED, they put you in that. But on top of all that, you're going to be doing college courses. You're going to be studying constantly. You're going to be reading books like Sun Tzu, like 48 Laws of Power. I can't think of some other ones right now, but
Machiavelli.
Machiavelli. And you're going to be reading all this philosophy stuff and art of war. How to smash your opponent and.
The history of your people. You're going to be learning about the revolution, the history of your people. You're going to be using different tactics. It even goes as far as to martial arts. Anything that you can utilize to soak knowledge to make yourself a better, a more highly skilled and highly intelligent person.
So in other words, so Nelson, you drive up and you let the homies know on paper that you are a Taekwondo. You did Taekwondo and you did jiu-jitsu, right? And then say Gunner drives up and he puts down that he was a Golden Gloves or whatever, boxing.
Maybe something like
And then I put that I did mixed martial arts and all that. So they were really high on it back in the day because remember all the kung fu movies, and there was a lot of guys were into martial arts back in the day.
Yeah.
But so when I write down all this stuff down on there, or no, for example, me, I put down that I was in the military, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now it's on another level. So now we're gonna start training our peoples on kill shots and and pressure points, and we're gonna try to teach everybody, the best way to take people down. And then also once you get further, I mean, when you become a member of a certain organization, they even have where you start moving around cells where you're moving to this guy's cell just to learn the body, the anatomy on where to stab somebody, where the quickest place to kill him, where to hit him at, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then you move to this guy's cell to do a different type of training,
It's called SKP. It's called SKP, Superior Killing Power.
Yeah.
And it was actually created by an individual out of Stockton, California. And you know exactly what I'm talking about, Lou.
Yes, I did. I knew that individual very well.
Yeah, and he actually
R.I.P. Macaron.
Yeah. Yep. He that was actually one of the things that he plays a big history into a certain organization up north, or not, I wouldn't say up north, just an organization, period. And that was his expertise, man, and it's still, it's
a weaponry maestro.
The maestro of weaponry.
Yeah.
This is what I like. This is what I like about having shows like this, because right now we're talking here, but if you look into the chat, people are having their own conversation and their own discussions.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I see that.
About what we're talking about. There's no yelling, screaming, cursing, fighting, none of that, man. That's what's up,
It's a beautiful thing, man, when people come together. And that's what I provide on my channel, a platform for people, not necessarily, it's what I tell everyone. If you want to gang bang, I get it, right? I know what it entails. If you don't want to, that's perfectly fine too. I'm not providing a platform for people to go one way or the other. I'm providing a platform to have conversation, for unity, to bring people that necessarily wouldn't have talked in the past together to come to some common understanding and to really identify that, man, we're not too much different. So that's where my channel goes. And I do it by comedy. I do it by aggression. I do it by, I'll bring you to tears, to laugh, whatever it's going to take to bring the people in so that way they can have these conversations and hopefully, man, come to know and realize that we're not much different. We're just people.
Oh, man.
And plus, I want to put it out there for our audience too. This man right here was involved in a first ever, that I know of, right?
Yeah.
First ever
unity fight.
Two YouTube content creators, one from Southern California and Northern California, came together to box on a pay-per-view event.
Yeah.
Gunner was one. Yep.
Yeah, that's me and Cholo Trucker. Shout out to my brother Cholo Trucker, man. Tap into him. If you guys man like wrestling and like sports and like stuff like that, that dude's the one. But we actually came together, and it didn't necessarily start out as a Northern California, Southern California thing. It snowballed. Of course, people took it that direction. It started off as two people just wanting to do something for the people, just trying to give back to our subscribers, to our gente, to the raza. At the end of the day, it turned into that, and it was a great event, man. Of course, we've been talking about doing it again. We've been talking about doing it again. But yeah, we did that. We were the first ones to engineer that, get it done, and it's a great thing, man, to know that we play that intricate part into the history. And I know it's not a big part, but we did our part, and this is a good thing.
They even got shout outs from Paul Rodriguez on the event.
Danny De La Paz.
If anybody don't know, Danny De La Paz was the guy from he's been in a lot of movies, from American Me, the one that little big puppet. He choked his brother, Little Puppet. He told him, he was there.
He was taking a piss. I remember that.
Yeah. So what I mean, they broke some ground, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was definitely something, man. It was something cool. It was cool to be a part of,
Yeah.
What's good, though? I'll tell you what. The cool thing is that Gunner came on, bro. He gave us his stories, and we're shooting the shit, and that's how it should be. When we have people on, bro, we ain't gonna look at a paper and ask you questions. I'm gonna let you roll with what you got. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, exactly.
That's the way it is. We keep it real 100%.
Good night, Camille.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. Like I said again, I appreciate the platform. No fly zone, man. I'm tapped in. All the gente, man, that tap in with me. tap in with these gentlemen, man. You guys know Big Blue, man. He's been rocking from day one. Nelson, man, a great individual, man, a real one. And that's all you could ask is people to keep it humble, keep it respectful, and keep it real, man. There's no reasoning for mistruths or lies or tapatio or none of that. When real men are talking, man, just keep it real. You know what I mean?
Just keep it real. All you can do, bro.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. You'll get a lot further in life just being yourself instead of trying to be someone that you think people want you to be. You know what I mean?
So we got David S. Cameron asked that question earlier. He's from England, so he taps in with us. We met, all of us met, Nelson, Carlos, me, him. We've been in the same chats for a long time. And then we got Big Bob over here too now from Big Bob from New Zealand.
Oh yeah, man, that's coming from New Zealand, man.
We got us Sven is from Denmark. We got a few people from over the pond. You know what I mean? It's cool, man.
I see Joanna's in here. That's the homegirl. Slice Lone, David S. Cameron, AC Ibarra, man. That's my brother from another day oneer, man, on Gunners Collective. He's representing to the fullest.
Yep. You got some folks here, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
that's
man.
I'm networking.
Yeah, that's how you do it, man. That's how you do it. And like I said, man, I wouldn't mind coming on here again, sharing some more stories into prison. I know I talk, and people, they get the misconception. Gunner talks a lot about the Youth Authority. Well, the Youth Authority had a lot of bearing on the type of man I am today. That's where it all started, man. You got to take it back to the history, right? That's my youth, where people are like, hey, I remember I was watching this movie and doing that. I didn't have none of that. Okay, this is what I had. This was my youth. This was how I was raised. I raised myself in the Youth Authority. This is all I seen: concrete jungle, barbed wire fences, and a bunch of J-cats acting funny. This was what it was for me. So I'm always going to talk about my history, my path. But of course, man, I did go to prison, and that was a whole story into itself there. I've been around.
And you know what? It's a well-balanced story because you're starting from your young age to your older age. That's something that, like I said, whenever you want to come back on, bro, you want to stop through, you're more than welcome. So all you got to do is let us know, bro.
No doubt about it, man. Anytime.
Yep. Thank God, because me and Gunner are the same age, right? So
yeah,
thank God we, that's behind us now. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, man. All that is totally behind me. And like I said, man, I'm not going to sit here and say it's a good thing or it's a bad thing to be a gang member, man. I'm gonna let each man decide to his own, man, because everyone has their own life and their reasons.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna say for myself, because it helped mold me into who I am now. Because I don't care what anybody says. Some of the things we learn in there is greatly beneficial to our lives. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A lot of it, the what we call carnalismo, brotherism, and in the equality, because we're taught everybody, equality, but we know that in the end, it really isn't about that. You know what I'm saying? But that's how we're taught. That's how we're taught. We're taught a lot more things, and it does help you in the long run. To become who you are. But you know what? I wasted too many years of my life in that place, man, and I regret it. But you know what? Like I said, it helped mold me who I am. I just wish I didn't miss all the time with my kids.
Yeah, and that's what it is. When you have children, and then it's time. That's when the time starts to become a factor. That's when you're a youth and you're out there and you're young in the game and you're going to Tracy, prison, San Quentin, wherever. Maybe you're young in the game. You ain't got no responsibilities. Get yours, right? If that's how you feel. Right. Get off your mouth. But when you start to have children and responsibilities and people that you have to provide for, that's when the time gets a little bit rougher. You know what I mean? Because as a man, that when you're in there talking about, oh man, I'm solid. You ain't solid, bro. If you was solid, you'd be out there with your kids being real solid.
That's right.
Stop that bullshit.
And let's keep it real too, bro. They say, oh, my kids. You don't give a fuck about the kids at the time. Of course, your heart says you do, and you love them, you miss them, you truly do, and you do want to do good when you get out. But you don't stay on track, and you go back into doing the old dumb shit. You
got to keep.
It is what it is, man.
It is, man.
Yeah, that's I hate that fool. Man, I love my kids. You know what I mean? Then why are you fishing? Motherfucker, why are you fishing for soups? You ain't supposed to be fishing for soups. We already got 10 soups in here, bro. Why are you trying to be a scandalous individual and fish for 2 more soups and jeopardize getting a 115 and jeopardize getting more time so you're not seeing your kids? Now, I understand.
Jeopardize getting the house hit.
Yeah.
Get our shit all thrashed. You know what I mean? Thrown around.
I understand if it's for the cause and it's something that's highly encouraged, something that you have to do. It's out of your hands. You got to do that. Okay, I understand. But when you're taking the initiative to go out there and do something frivolous like that, don't talk to me about you miss your kids, bro. You know what I mean? You're gonna continue to miss them for longer because you're out there doing frivolous antics, man. And that's just how I feel. Everyone else is different. Doesn't mean that these guys that are incarcerated, they're having to do what they have to do, don't love their children. Don't get the misconception of that. I know a lot of them do. It's just that's the way I looked at it.
Yeah, how's that saying go, bro? How do you expect a different result when you keep doing the same? I forgot how it goes, but basically, how do you
keep doing the same old thing and get the same old shit, same old result?
Yeah. So until you change something, it's going. Like me, for me, example, big part of me was me humbling myself and washing dishes when I got out, bro. You know what I mean? I always told myself, ain't no way I'm doing anything like that ever. Nah, you know what I mean? I was grateful that they gave me the shot.
But this is the cool thing about it. You say that, but if they put you in the fucking chow hall, working in the chow in the kitchen, washing dishes, you do that, right?
Oh, I mean, like that.
Yeah. See, that's
the hustle.
That's where people get it twisted.
Yeah.
You're incarcerated. They put you in the chow hall. Hell yeah, that's the hustle. You're trying to be in the chow hall. They say, well, you got to wash dishes. I don't give a fuck. I'm just trying to be there because I'm trying to eat good, right?
Eat good. You get to bring shit back.
But then you get out and you're like, I ain't washing no dishes. Oh, you'll wash dishes for 1,100 men, but you won't wash dishes for one chick? You're tripping. People don't look at it like that.
Real shit. Good night, Primo. I see Mr. Can't Be Wrong.
Primo.
Big Lou Rich. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Big Lou Dridicus or whatever. Anyways, everybody's saying that. A lot of people are saying good show.
Man, respect, man.
Thank you for coming. That's for sure, man. I appreciate
what I like about is it's just, man, when you're really having a good conversation and everybody's on the same wavelength, that's when you can provide some of the better content on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily about being famous or being this and that. It's about real talk, having real conversation. And anyone could do it, man. I've talked to stars. I've talked to people that are homeless on the streets, man. And I don't care if as long as you have a good conversation, then I'll talk with you.
Well, and it is what it is. We try to put ourselves at a point that if we have a guest on, it's like us being in front of each other. You know what I'm saying? And we just have a casual conversation, which is the way it should be. It's none of that. I don't want to sit here and be like this. Well, what happened when you were 15? I don't want to do that bullshit.
No. That's not the flow of conversation, bro. That's you know what I mean? This ain't MSNBC. This is no fly zone.
That's it. No fly zone.
No bullshit. No bullshit's allowed.
Yeah.
Anyways, but I know Mr. Can't Be Wrong. I know you like to use me. Yeah, but I knew it was gonna be a good one though. That's why I pitched it to you. You know what I mean?
Oh no, definitely.
Nelson's our captain, so I had to pitch it to him.
Oh
I knew he'd be on board. You know what I mean? I knew. Well, we all talk, all three of us, but we got some other things in line, and I spoke to you a little bit, Gunner. I spoke to Flacco a little bit. You know what I mean? And I spoke to some other people. I don't want to say some things right now because I don't know if it's going to work out, but I'll tell you later on about some couple people I want to reach out to.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And that's what we're planning on doing is we're getting the stuff together where we're gonna have people like Gunner coming in from Cali, a bunch of other people from Cali, but then we're gonna have people from New York, so we could basically swap, stories on how the system is in California, how it is in New York, what the differences are. At the end of the day, we all know it's all about money for them. So the difference is we could come up and say, okay, this is how it is, this is what it was, or if it's still happening,
Yeah, it's about money for them and about time for us,
Bro.
And that's it. That's what we get out of it. We get hardship and people are gonna say, well, you're out there doing crime, that's what you deserve. I'm a firm believer in if you do the crime, you do the time. That's part of the game. That's cops and robbers. You already know. But you're not supposed to be punished for being incarcerated. You're supposed to be punished by being incarcerated. So what goes into it and how you're treated in there is what I'm talking about. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Just like I said, as a youth, man, I would see things, and even the opposition. I don't wish the worst upon my enemies. Well, I've seen bad things happen to my enemies, and I was like, damn, that's a cold game.
Yeah.
And,
yesterday I was in another show yesterday in the chats, and I think I even got on the screen on the panel, but I was talking about how there's a lot of guys doing life, in the feds and, for weed charges. And somebody said, well, you know, they knew they were doing crime, this and that. I said, I doubt these guys went and looked into the law to see
Yeah, I
if they
see.
sold weed, if they were going to get a life sentence. You know, because
Yeah.
you know, in the Feds they got the mandatory minimums, and
minimum.
yeah, you know, and I guess after, I guess he had 2 drug charges already, and then he caught a weed charge. This one cat I'm speaking of, and he got, that was the mandatory minimum, was a life sentence. You know, but it's
Yeah.
like, you know, that on a weed charge, who the hell ever, you know, expects or believes that they're going to do a life sentence on some weed? You know, and then even with the cocaine, the crack rock, you know, the solids, you know, you get more time for that than powder when it's the same thing.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
and that's just because of the stigma of the crack epidemic in the 90s, 80s, late 80s, early 90s. Because of the stigma, and that's what it is. They thought more, you know, they think it's more highly addicting. It's the same shit, bro. In fact, it got added preservatives to it. It makes it even more watered down. But people don't understand that. And
it is what it is.
Yeah. So, you know,
I give everybody, you know, their respect. You know, everybody has the right to their own opinion. Sometimes, you know, their opinion may be wrong, but eventually they'll come to that conclusion on their own. You know what I'm saying?
But that's a great thing, to be opinionated, to have an opinion, and to be able to talk about it as men and women.
That's it.
And come to some type of understanding. Whether you agree at the end doesn't matter. It's the conversation and the you know, what goes into that conversation is what matters.
Well, that's part of the reason for us putting this show together on some of the topics, so that some people that think differently, like what I just said about, well, they knew they're doing the crime, but let's open their eyes as what's really going on with some of this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like with your story, you know, the administration, the shenanigans they were with, the hand they played in sending youngsters, kids, 14, 12, 14, 15 years old to an area in a different part of the state.
And you know what's crazy? I didn't even get into that. Lou and Nelson. I'll tell you guys right now what the funny part about that is. Years later, after I left, a few years after I left, I went up north and I paroled. There was a big thing that happened at Nellis. Actually, 2 or 3 Southerners actually in the hole, they stole the keys from a cop, beat up a cop, and they actually went in and killed 2 Northerners. You know, stabbed them to death. So after that, they shipped all the Norteños out of there. So in the end, what really happened? A whole lot of hardship and struggle for the establishment of nothing. We ended up getting nothing out of it. They just shipped us out. They were like, okay, all right, that's too much now. And there was that was deaths. There was no deaths the time we were there. There was a lot of stabbings that happened. A lot, you know what I mean? And I'm telling you, they would, like I said, they would once in a while give you stitches. For the most part, it was like, there's tape, use tape. But everything that we struggled for, everything that we did, and in the end, Pete Wilson said, okay, operate. We're going to shut that down like it never happened. Sweep it under the rug and ship them back up north. And I guess that failed. And it's like, man, there's guys with scars. I got scars on my body now to this day from what I went through, and none of it counts for nothing. You know what I mean?
What about all the heads that got big old lumps and shit?
I got one.
Getting hit with locks in the sock and all that.
Locks and sock. We were the first one, and then this is crazy. When we got there was batteries and soap is what they were putting in the socks down there. We took it to the next level. We started putting bricks and rocks into the sock. We were trying to split your shit in one shot. And you got to understand, there's 8 or 9 of us in a building, 30 or 40 adversaries. We need a one and done. Okay, we need to split you. You fall out. So that way we had to somehow leverage it out to our benefit, right?
Yeah, because me and you know, you can't sit there. You can't sit there and fight with one guy. You got to hit, move. Right? Yeah, because otherwise they'll be all over you. You know what I mean?
And that shit was hard.
Eventually, what happens is people adapt. After the first couple of melees, they said, because fools was getting split, they were like, no, that ain't soap, right? Because soap will just knock you out. Then they started using rocks. So now it's like, man, it was like the Wild Wild West. Fools were, gunslinging.
Listen, bro, lose 5'3", bro. So I know he had a bad time in there, bro.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, I never went to YA. I never went to the youth authority.
He was 5'3", bro.
Yeah, and youth authority was wild, man. 90s, different animal. But you know what? I'm just so happy with the reform. Speaking of reform, like women like Joanna, man, everything, the intricate parts that she plays into it, youth reform, that they're finally shutting these places down because, man, these places are no place for a kid. Like I said, the rehabilitation, none of that was there. None of that was there, man. I'm telling you, first and foremost, man, I didn't learn a damn thing. The only thing I learned is how to straighten out a bed spring and use that motherfucker. That's all I learned.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
From my
Hey,
whole
what
time
about-
away, I could straighten one of those down like 5 minutes.
Hey, you remember the Boys Ranch and Vision Quest and all that? Hearing stories about those
Yeah.
places. So,
There was bad
Boys
stuff
Ranch,
going on.
Boys Ranch, they're both in Arizona, right? And kids from certain counties in California would get sent there, and so there was a kid that was from Sac County, and he got sent to Boys Ranch, and he ended up dying because there's kind of like a boot camp somewhat, where you got counselors where they make you do push-ups and run, and they just kept. And you're talking Arizona, so you're talking 120-degree weather or hotter in the summer, plus the humidity, and they just ran this kid till he finally fucking died. And Sacramento County, San Joaquin County, and a couple other counties called all their kids back. They brought all the kids back that they had there, that they had sent there as their punishment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, Joanna says we must remember the CYA was about those, so we never go back and open up one of those institutions ever again. Absolutely, Joanna. I totally agree. She's right, man. And those I'm big into a youth reform, not necessarily prison reform. I believe, man, that will happen eventually. How it happens, man. You can only do so much. Prison is part of life, right? That's part of the world. But when it comes to youth reform, these are our children, so we have to look out for them. And it takes people like us from the outside looking in that are able to go and fight for our children. I remember when we were down there, a lot of the mothers were coming together for the Northerners, and they were actually petitioning Governor Pete Wilson. There was a homeboy from Frisco. He got hit, man, and they ended up shipping him out because his mom made a lot of noise, right? They ended up shipping him out, but he gets hit, and his mom's at Pete Wilson, and she gets a letter, and she actually sent the letter in, and he says, straight up, point blank, your kid is not going to a Northern California CYA. This is the California Youth Authority, not the Northern California Youth Authority, right? Basically, I don't care about none of that. He gets hit a couple weeks later, and then, of course, she makes noise, they ship him out. But that was the thing, is that they had to wait till it got to that point. They should have never got to that point. You know what I mean? And I understand, man, that there was Southerners up north, but they should have established that for the North the same way they did for the South back then. Years of turmoil, they did it in the worst era possible. They chose the worst time to do that, when gangbanging was at its height. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Answer that question, David. CYA stands for California Youth Authority, and it's basically prison for juveniles. But they do have it does go up to 25 years old.
Yeah, there was, and that was a cool part too. We were there. I'm 12 years old fighting with dudes that are 19, 20 years old.
Yeah. My cousin was in there. I had one cousin that was what is that called? Committed till he was 21, and then I got another cousin that was committed till he was 25.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The one that was 25 because he shot at a cop. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there wasn't, and I mean, like I said in the North, and when I said in the beginning of my story, in NRCC, they did keep us according to age in separate dorms. But as you got to the main lines, there was no disparity, or there was no separation of age. Man, there was 24-year-old dudes looking like they just got out of Sing Sing right in there.
And another thing too, you can get out, you can go to prison, right? Yeah. Go to prison and then be sent back to YA because you owe time to YA.
Yeah.
So obviously those are grown men. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
it's tricky how they set that system up.
That situation, you got 13-year-old kids that are coming in. They're probably scrawny as hell, scared as hell. And then you got these cats coming that they like the whole shit.
Oh,
bro,
I was the skinniest. They called me Skinner. Well, I ended up getting that name, but they used to call me Skinny Boy, then Skinner, and then of course Gunner. And Gunner, I derived from prison, was my TN, my tier name, and I just ran with it. But I was 12-year-old, skinniest, 101 pounds, if that. Smallest little dude. The knife was bigger than I was, right? And I had 20-year-olds come, big dudes, talking about, hey, bro, we got to go behind the handball court. I couldn't say no. There was no one to tell. There was no one to say, hey, I can't, I'm too small. There was none of that. It was, you're gonna go, period. It wasn't even about what are my people gonna think about me. It was more about just,
you know what? I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say
right there.
Yeah. I'm gonna say this too, because it sounds like how can that be true, right?
Fact.
The man was that age, and I'm telling you, this man, there's been numerous people that was with him back then.
Mhm.
That a couple of them I know a couple of them I know of really well of who they are. A couple of them I know who they are, and
Mhm.
the story is true. There's no lie
True.
about what this man's saying about that.
That's
None
a
at all.
fact. That's a
And I've heard
100%
That's
I've
fact.
heard
what I'm
blacks talk
saying.
about
But
it. Yeah, I've
like I
heard
was
blacks
saying
talk about it
before,
over there, Southerners.
he's
Yeah.
got that. He's got that heart. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
he's got that mentality at that age. Now, can you imagine a young cat coming in that's really not about that? You know,
Yeah.
makes some foolish mistake, goes in there and sees some dude that's like this, bro. You know what that kid was going through his head, bro? You can only like, damn, what the
And,
hell?
and, and that's why
But put it like this.
that's why I said, Nelson, there was kids that went in that weren't really
Yeah,
gang
bro.
related, were in there for stealing a fucking car. They stole too many
Yeah.
cars and they got put in there. I'm gonna tell you what happened to them. Victimization is what happened to them.
Yep.
They became victims, bro, and there was no one to tell. There was a kid, and I told the story on my channel. And if you guys want to see it, go to Gunners Collect. You'll see it exclusively. But I told the story on this kid that was there. He got there, thought he was a lightweight gang member. The Southsiders quickly told him, nah, you ain't none of that, right? And kind of let him go his own direction. And they used to torture this kid. And I'm not going to say who did it, but this kid used to get tortured to the point where he actually went to the cops and was like, look, because the cop was like, get up, you got to go to school. He's like, I can't walk, man. So why can't you walk? His shins were this big. You know what that cop did? Instead of taking him to an infirmary to help him, the next day he brought him shin guards.
Wow.
Here, put those on. Those will help you from when they kick you. They was kicking him in the chins, messing with him. That's how bad it was. Even the cops knew they couldn't do nothing about it.
And another thing is, you're either if you don't become a victim, you learn how to fight. And
Yeah.
you
gonna learn.
And I know a lot of guys, they'll tell you, I couldn't fight. I was scared to death. But you know what? I had to do what I had to do because, like what he just said, there ain't nobody to tell. You're gonna get victimized, or you're gonna fight. And what happens
Well, it
is
comes to that point where you start getting tired of the same shit over and
Yeah.
over and over.
Yeah, and the trip out on this, Nelson, second part to that story is that same kid, and I told it again, like I said, the same kid, just like you said, you get tired of it, right?
Yeah.
So the same kid, they were having him, of course, just like the prison movies, iron my clothes, wash my clothes, beating on him, and doing other things to him. I don't even want to speak on here, right? One day, the cat that wasn't doing nothing to him thought he could play with this guy. Okay, now this guy was taking a lot of ridicule and a lot of getting beat on by a certain group. But when this other guy, an Africano guy, thought he could play with them, this guy got an iron and beat him damn near to death with the iron, knocked all his teeth out. The same kid that was getting beat up on, why? Because enough was enough. He was like, I'm already taking it over here. I ain't taking it from you too. And he went off. I've seen it with my own eyes. I was like, damn, hit him in the head, hit him in the head, right? And that's just what it was. But it happened. So that same kid, man, it's only a matter of time before you explode. And he did.
Definitely, bro. It is what it is. It happens. People snap.
San Fran 415 at Rube. What's up, man?
What's up, San Fran 415? That's the homie, man. YTS, I think, on Ventura, Rich. In Ventura was a co-ed, men and women. There was one California Youth Authority that had women in it. It was in Camarillo. It was called Ventura, and that was co-ed. Meaning there was guys and girls there, but they didn't function on the same yards. And then YTS was next to Chino Prison or down that way. And they did send Norteños there, but they were straight to the rock, straight to the oil. They never walked the main line. That was a different animal.
YTS is like Chad, but down there.
Yeah. YTS was damn near prison. When I say damn near, I mean a hop, skip, and a jump away from being in prison. These guys were vicious. If they would have put Norteños there, they would have killed several of them.
I heard when they would go to school and all that, every movement they would be put in cages. So like when everybody's in school, they're in a cage.
That's in Chad. But that's in Chad. But in YTS, Norteños never hit the main line in TS. Straight to the rock, straight to the oil. That's a fact. But Chad was different. What happened in Chad is they used to have gladiator wars, and I talked about that just the other day. They would bring 2 guys from each group segment, put them in the day room. They had like this leather, looked like a belt that went around your waist for working out. They put that and had handcuffs on the side, and they'd handcuff you on the side. They wouldn't shackle your feet, not initially. And they'd have 2 bulldogs, 2 northerners, southerners, Crips, blood, whatever. And then the cop would just walk out of the building. Kickboxing time. As soon as they'd walk out, fools are jumping up. The blacks and the northerners over here, the whites and the southerners and the bulldogs, and everyone start kickboxing each other. Straight up every time. They'll mace them guys, lock them back in their cells, and bring out the next group for day room.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe it.
Fact.
Because I know all about the Corcoran shoe wars and shit.
That's a fact. That's what they did, and that was in Chad. You know, Chad's still the only one still around. You know, and I don't know what they got going on in Chad, but I know they used to call it the White Elephant, Mad Chad. Nobody wanted to go there because
so Carl Holton's closed, DeWitt Nelson's closed, and what's the other one? Chad,
Preston,
OH closed. Yeah.
So all four of those were together in Stockton.
Right.
You had OH closed, which was for the youngsters. Then you had Carl Holton, which was like 15 years old and older. You had DeWitt Nelson, which was a program, and everybody was trying to get there. I never got love. I never got to go there because there that was the one place where you actually got to go work outside of YA. They had like a reentry program there. But to be quite honest with you, the only two people that went there is people that were like super programming, had super juice, or you were telling on everyone, right? That's who went there. And that's a fact. And then you had a Chad, and not a single soul wanted to go there. But when you went there,
Chad was like what, 17 at 25 or
yeah, and it was motherfuckers was trying to take your head off right there. They were throwing people off tears. So many stabbings.
When you guys were in there, like Brian Miller just asked a question.
Yeah.
Was there any of that in there while you guys were in?
Any what?
The AB. Yeah, they're there, but they're at that time.
It was not that time.
Yeah, well, at that time when me and Gunner were in there, those guys were all slammed.
Yeah. He's talking about in prison or YA.
I don't know. He just said, "What do you know about the AB?"
And why? I'll tell you this: in YA, down south, you're not going to hardly see any white boys. They're just non-existent there. You might see 2 or 3, and the ones that you do see are with the business. I don't know why they didn't send them to YA. You just wouldn't see them down south. I can't call it, right? Or not where I was at least. Gotcha. Then when you go up north, you'll see a lot more white boys, and they consider themselves woods and just white boys. They didn't really have too much structure or too much. They weren't really into the gangbanging. They were just white boys. Everyone knew they were white boys. They'll stand up for their own. But they never really got into too much mix unless a few of them got there and tried to be high power. They were outnumbered. So in prison, it's a different story.
Yeah.
Prison, the AB, NLRs, anyone they're not on the main lines. They're validated and they're.
They are now. They are now. But when we
now with the end of hostilities, they're involved in that.
Yeah, when me and Gunner were in there one time when we started, and when we finished in the state prison, they weren't. They were all slammed.
Yeah,
so,
they were slammed.
When we say we're in Tracy Reception Center, or we're in San Quentin Reception Center, or Tracy Mainline, or San Quentin Mainline, they're there, but they're only in the whole in the reception center. You know what I mean? And they're going to be shipped to either Pelican Bay, Shoe, Corcoran Shoe, or Tehachapi Shoe. Those are the only places where indeterminate shoes go. Those 3 places.
And if one guy's in high desert, and he's in the oil, and he's waiting to be transferred to a shoe, and he actually comes back to say Tracy for court, and he slides by. Okay, that's again why Northerners do rosters, why we are aware our security's up. If we identify him as one of those this was at NEP times.
On site.
He's on site as a target. We're doing the best we can to remove him off our main line because he poses a threat to our main line. Because if he's able to be there, he'll establish. You know what I mean? And there will be no establishment there. And it's vice versa. They feel the same way about other people, other groups. But yeah, so they were slammed down. Now it's different. So I can't speak on it because I'm not there anymore.
All those guys they won in the Supreme Court. I'm pretty sure they took it to the federal Supreme Court. Right? They won a writ.
They won
a writ that being in the shoe for all, some of those guys been in there since the early 80s, late 70s.
3 or 4 decades.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 4 decades, 3.5 decades, 3 decades. Yeah. So they won a writ. What they did was they had a representative from each of the big 4, and they filed writs, and it finally got to the Supreme Court, and they said it was inhumane because a lot of these guys end up having mental issues, because you don't have a cellie, so you don't have nobody to talk to. Then the lights are on, and it messes up your eyes, and you get terrible medical attention. Just a whole bunch of stuff that they do. They play games with your packages, your store.
Your mail's 2 months late.
Your mail, all kinds of stuff, right? So they won, and everybody was kicked out the shoe. Even guys that were actually proven to be straight members of those groups.
Yeah, so, and that's how it is in a court of law. In a court of law, they can't single you out. That's part of it, being singled out. A lot of these guys, and they were validated, and some of these guys weren't even involved to that degree. But they were validated just because they knew of. If I knew Lou, and say Lou was somebody, and I knew of him, we took a picture together on the streets, and somehow IGI, which is the internal, the gang task force in there, they're able to see that picture of me and him. They're automatically going to assume I have association with them. That's one validation point. Now, if they know that I'm rolling with Northerners, that I'm part of that group, there's another validation point.
And then you had guys dropping 1030s.
You have guys
they're lying. They could just be lying.
Yeah, he's part of that movement. There's my third validation point. I get a validation packet sent to Sacramento. They're not even going to read it. They're just going to initial it. Coming back, I'm going immediately to the hole on an indeterminate shoe forever.
Yeah.
You either die or drop out.
Go straight to the shoe forever.
Yeah, that's some bullshit, bro. That's
So the only way you're getting out there is either you die or you decide to drop out and you debrief.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That was it. And that's why you had in the late 90s, 2000s, you had California switching over to a lot of non-actives, or what you would call dropouts now, because guys were getting slammed back there. And I mean, when you're back there forever, if you got a 26, 27-year bid and you're there forever, there was no fans buts. Once you got an indeterminate, you're validated, you're not going nowhere. These guys couldn't take it after 10, 15 years. They're going crazy. They're like, man, I need to get out of here. I don't care what I got to do. And so they would go through a transitional housing debriefing and go to the SNY yards and they're considered PC. But really, these guys weren't doing it because they were punks. They were just fucking just done. They were tired.
That's another misconception. People think just because somebody dropped out, they just all of a sudden they turn into this big old pussy, and they just ain't about shit no more. Like they forgot everything they were taught all those years on how to make a weapon and jam that motherfucker up in you. You know what I mean?
You know what? It comes down to this, man, and it's all in general, because what you just said, people that drop out, people feel, oh, they forgot about. It comes with the same thing, like OGs that are out in the street doing their dirt for years. You get older and shit like that. You don't forget, bro. You don't forget where you came from, and you don't forget a lot of things. It's the same thing with the government informants, like King Rat. The man up there, whatever. That dude was a dirty dude. He ain't forget. Don't get it twisted. You catch that man in a corner and you corner him,
he's gonna come out guns blazing.
Yeah, even though he's 76 years old, bro, he didn't forget. No, especially if he has a gun,
bro. Hey, someone of that high caliber, man. The path they chose to do in life. Of course, it's not condoned, and not a lot of people are gonna look at it some type of way.
Yep.
But don't sleep on that man. Don't ever sleep on that man. That man has 19 confirmed kills, right? 20 ain't gonna make a difference. You feel me?
We know it ain't like that. He's got more than that, but
no, I'm just saying those are what he talks about.
Yeah, what he's talking about. But in general, all those people that are out there that are like retired, bro. People like, okay, let's just put us. We're quiet. We don't bother nobody, but don't get it twisted. You know what I mean? Just because we're older, you can't do that. You can't go and face to face, a confrontation, bro. It only takes 2 seconds, bro, for you to snap and say, "Oh, hell with this shit."
Another thing too about where you were talking about how guys being there 10, 15, 20 years and then they snap and they got to get out of there and they drop out and debrief. But a lot of it too, man. And people talk shit, man. But there's been a lot of stories of just some way out bullshit of straight betrayal and politicking against your own brothers, which are so-called your own brothers, hermanos, however you want to say it, and guys have been killed when they shouldn't have been killed, and after they had been killed, something should have been done about it, and nothing ever was done about it. So if a guy, and Gunn knows what I'm talking about, certain people that had that were very high ranking, that were killed, and nothing was ever done about it. So if somebody like that could be killed, and nothing is even done to the people who did it when they were totally in the wrong, then somebody that's on a lower level, somebody that's a lower level member,
ain't got nothing coming.
Nothing coming, and they're like, and they realize that, so they're like, "Fuck this."
Ain't got it. Damn. And like I said, I'm not trying to steer people in that direction. Everyone's gonna have to make that decision for themselves in life if you go that route. There's some people that will never be faced with that decision because they're smart enough to realize that they're a grown man and they don't need anyone to back their play in life, and they can go about being a man from the gate. Those are the smart ones.
You were given the warning.
Yeah. But if you're part of that life, believe everything that entails that life one day will be on your plate. Okay, so you're going to be faced with that situation. If you're really about that life, believe me, there's going to be an IGI at your door knocking, asking you if you're ready to go on the other side. That's a fact, right?
Oh, yeah.
Don't think you're ever going to just be in good standings the whole time. It's all going to be good and whatever. Nah, they're going to be at your door trying to play you out of pocket. This is what happens to the best of them. It's a constant cat and mouse game. And eventually the cat catches the mouse, right? So what's going to happen. You know?
Has this ever happened to you? Okay, you know how there's yards that are considered no good, right?
Yeah.
Full of NGNs and all that. Okay, NGN stands for no good norteños. Okay.
Yeah.
You go there. You know, some yards you got to get out of there within 72 hours, right? Some of them it's 48. Some of them, I even heard some yards 24 hours, right?
Depending on
IGI, which stands for the Institutional Gang Investigators, will make sure that you get CTQ'd, which stands for confined to quarters, which means you're sick.
Hours. Yep.
Right? And they'll keep you in there purposely for more than those hours. So in other words, if I hit a yard that's bad or a prison that's bad, I'm supposed to find the target, pick the target, and get off on them, right? Fire on them, get up out of there. Okay. So what the IGI will do is they'll segregate you, get you away from everybody. They'll still put you in a building of this yard, but they'll put you in the cell where you can't come out. You'll be self-fed, which is called CTQ, confined to quarters, and they'll keep you in there purposely for 4 days, 5 days, 6 days. And then they might confront you and be like, "Hey, man, you've already been here 6 days, man. You know, your people ain't gonna dig that." And then they're just trying to play a mind game with you. But you're fine. You know, you just got to handle your business. But it's
some people get played. A lot of people get played out of pocket because they after the third day they're stressing. They're like, "Fuck, I got 11 more hours to go." Right?
Yep.
Then they get down to that last hour. And they're really stressing. Like they're looking at their cell and like, "Well, fuck, where you from?" Right? And then the cops with the IGI would get at you on that 74th hour, and they'll be like, or 73rd hour, and they're like, "Yep, you already know you're bad, right? You know you done fucked up, right?" And you're like, "It was that or they don't care about none of that." And then there's 50% of the people that say, "You know what? I'm just gonna program. I'm here now," and that's what they do.
Yeah. Well, what about this one? What about this one? You drive up to a pin that's no good, and in R&R, which stands for receiving and releasing. Anytime you go into a prison in California or leave, you have to go through R&R. Okay, so when you get off the bus, you're in the paper jumpsuit, right, with paper boxers and paper T-shirt, no socks, Jap flaps on. Sometimes you don't even have a T-shirt on, and they put all your own people into one cage by themselves. And then what they do is they'll come around and they'll bring you this paperwork, which is called a 114 lockup order, which is the reason why you're going to the hole, right? That's what this paper means.
Don't sign it.
They'll come up to you with everybody's name typed on it. So, you know, one will say Big Lou, one will be for Nelson, one will be for Gun, one will be for Carlos, right? And they'll pass them out. They'll say your name, and then you go up to the gate. They'll hand you the paper. You look at it, you read it, and it'll say something like, "You arrived on this, whatever institution. You arrived here on this date from this prison, but you don't fit the mission of this prison now because we house so and so and so and so here, and you don't fit the criteria. Therefore, you're going to add seg." And they really want us to sign it.
Yeah, don't sign
nothing because you sign it, you're agreeing what they got on that paper.
And then you're also admitting that you're part of that, or you're part of that group.
Yeah, you're never supposed to admit nothing. So right away, the first person that gets their paper, they just hand it back and they said, "Man, don't even bother. Basically, don't even bother past trying to give the rest of those out."
Yeah, we don't even want nothing to do with that.
We ain't signing shit. A lot of guys sometimes they'll sign that fucking thing, not paying attention. They get played.
The career's over.
Yeah, and it's done. It's a done data.
It's a done deal. That's what I'm saying, man. There's a lot that goes into it other than the people that never been nowhere that like to wolf. "Oh, you're a dropper, you're a piece, you're this, that." Bro, you don't know. You ain't never been to a 4-yard. Stop it. You know what? Secure that. Stop it. Yep. Hey, Dritto 5K says, "Yo, I got a question. Is that truce thing a real thing?" It's not a truce, bro. It's an end to hostilities. See, people are saying the word truce is similar. A truce is like, "Hey, we're not going to do nothing." But an end to hostilities means slowly but surely, any type of hostile aggression they had towards each other is simmering down. Now, a truce is when you become an alliance. We're now good. We got a truce, Crips and Bloods. We're now, we can come together as a people. These are not coming together. What they're doing is it's simmering down. There's no hostilities. There's no aggression towards another group, whereas there was before war. And so it's an end to hostilities. It's meaning there's nothing going to happen everyone could go out there and function and do their program on the yard, make their money and program. But at no point in time does that mean people are clicking up together and all that. Everyone is still from their groups, and everyone can still get that funk and that smoke, depending upon where you're at and how it's going. But there's a lot of people now in the yards that count, meaning there's a lot of people that are the ones, the hierarchy. And when it's all said and done, man, as the day goes, how they feel, that's how you're going to do it. Period.
That's what's up.
Yep. But yeah, it's not a truth to end the hostilities, brother.
Oh, it is what it is, man.
Yeah. At the end of the day, bro, it's prison. And you're either going to go in there and do what you're told, or you're going to get force-fed some shit. Period. That's it. And I don't care. Like, when I hear people say, oh, the SMY yards or this yard or that yard or that. Prison is prison, bro.
Yeah, that's right.
You're locked up. You're in your cell at night. The cop is counting you, right? Whatever you choose to do as a man and how you conduct yourself is up to you. If you want to go in there, you want to conform to what the gang's got going on, handle it. Ain't nothing wrong with it. If you don't want to, handle that. Ain't nothing wrong with it. At the end of the day, man, you got to do your time however you want to do it. That's up to you.
Yeah, bro.
Period.
I mean, if you're doing it out there, you better do it inside too. Point blank.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt.
No, it is what it is.
Well, yeah,
Big Lou to get back on over here. I don't know where he went.
Yeah, he disappeared. Yeah, but that's the thing. You don't need to be out here and it's all good. I'm a gangster, and then go in there and fold up like a motherfucking sheet, a state blanket, right? If you're going to continue, and it's not, and like I said, and everyone does different. It's caught up in different situations. I myself was caught up in a certain situation where the group I'm from, one of our number one rules is we don't use hard drugs in prison. Okay, we don't conform to that. It's always been like that, man. We looked at it as hard drugs are just they're bad for the people, and it's a wreck. It's a wreck waiting to happen in prison if you do dope, right? And so we don't do that traditionally. And that was instilled in my mind, man, as I got out of YA, and I was out in the streets and I was around some people that they indoctrinated in my mind, like, bro, we don't get high in prison. We don't do that. And that's why one of the reasons why I don't get high to this day is that's always been, I just never got high because I knew we weren't supposed to, right?
So I
carried myself like I was in prison on the streets. I ate soft bars, everything, right? Yeah. So I just wasn't getting high. And so I get incarcerated. I get to a place, and there's actually Northerners getting high. You know what I mean? And I was in a position where I could voice my opinion. Okay. I had that status at that particular time where I could voice my opinion, but there was someone of the same status. And I tried to voice my opinion. Of course, I got back at some people in the back of the hole where it counts and everything. And it didn't work out in my favor. And they felt that they should just eliminate me off the yard. And when the push came to shove and the gunner came down and it was like, hey, this guy's making too much waves. He's got to go. I got off first. I took flight first, right? And that right there is considered red on red. So if you look at my name, it's going to say, well, Gunner's not good because of red on red, right? But really, you guys was trying to hit me before I did the red on red. I did the red on red because you were trying to hit me. So really, I'm not good for voicing my opinion.
Yeah.
Bang, bang. That's it. That's fact.
It is, bro. It is what it is.
And it's not to defecate or hate on the cause and hate on the Norteños at all. Nothing but love and respect. It's just that certain individual was funny because the same individual that was able to get me deemed and all that, he got metaflighted 4 months later for using hard drugs.
That's what it is, bro.
Part of life, huh?
It is. But yeah. So let's see. Where's Big Lou? Big Lou, we wrapping it up, my brother.
Well, as soon as you said my name, voila.
Hey, viste, estaba durmiendo. I caught you, bro.
No, my daughter just called. My daughter just called me, and my little one was throwing a fit, so I had to calm her down real quick.
So what we do here, bro, is we do a roll call. Usually that's Big Lou's. Big Lou's.
Homie. I'm the guy, homie. Spencer. Yeah. Like in the morning. That's what we do in the morning when we're in the hole.
And the program shut down.
It might not always be in the hole, but majority of the time you'll be called out by your cell. You got cellies, one person at a time to make sure you're awake. Because if you don't answer, you're gonna get it. You're gonna be in trouble.
You'll be writing an essay.
You always got to be on point. First thing in the morning.
The
Yeah, so
chat, bro, we got a hell of a chat. Had a hell of a good time. You know what I'm saying? Gunner, bro, thank you for coming. We
No
appreciate
doubt about it,
you,
brother. No doubt.
my brother.
Anytime.
Lou,
Anytime.
you were late like 3 hours, bro. Just like
I
nah.
was late an hour. I was late about an hour, but I got about an hour and
There
five
you go. You
hour and
got
Yeah,
an
ten.
yeah, you did
hour
good. You
in.
did all right.
But
But
I had
yeah, I
nothing but
want
confidence in you. I knew you were gonna handle it, and I knew Gun was gonna handle it too. So
listen, we do
Oh
what
man,
we
I'm gonna
gotta
handle money.
do, bro. Chacho. Gonna shoot out your link real quick,
yeah,
if
Carlos
they
put it
want to
earlier.
check it
Carlos put
out.
it earlier, but yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
hey, I don't got it just like right here because of where I'm at. But man, if you type in a GU, it's gonna pop up on YouTube.
About
Gunners Collective, man.
Yeah,
The
he's got
real one.
30,000 subscribers.
Yeah, I'm over 30,000 subscribers, man. I appreciate everyone that rocks with me from day one. But Gunners Collective, tap in. You're gonna hear some of the realest stories on YouTube. Comedy. It's gonna laugh. It's gonna make you cry. It's gonna make you rethink your current situation. You never know what I'm talking about, but I will talk daily. There's just a lot to get into. So, man, tap into Gunners Collective. One
Yeah,
time.
he talks a lot about current like crimes, past crimes,
I do true
big name
crime. I
crimes, true
do. I
crimes.
do. Oh yeah, man. True crime, serial killers,
Yeah.
scary stories, comedy. I got characters that pop up from time to time. I got a crazy uncle. He has an R in his arm. You'll find out what that is.
Oh yeah, then there's that other vato. What's his name?
Yeah, I got
Pedro.
a dude with an afro.
There he goes.
I
Carlos
got.
just dropped it.
You just never know who's going to be there, man. You never know who I'm interviewing. I've interviewed Phantom that was on MSNBC, a Fresno Bulldog on death row. I've interviewed Spokio de Salas doing 4 life terms, 111 years. I've interviewed Caleb Pinkett, who's the executive producer of Cobra Kai. You just never know. You never know what I'm bringing. Shit, I got one already for tomorrow. Bang, bang.
Oh, he's making
Carlos just dropped it right now. He dropped his link.
There it is right there, man. Gunners Collective channel link. Gracias. I appreciate you, Carlos.
You're gonna show them how to make the sopas, right?
I already did that. I got the spread videos already on there. Yeah, that's
good. Yes, I want to do some too because I want to do like a wet burrito and then we had this one called Fat Boy Nachos. A couple of my boys and us.
The nachos were bomb, huh?
Yeah, but we call it the Fat Boy Nachos. So we would throw so I would usually do that. So we put one sopa in one soup in each bowl, right?
Yeah.
And then we put just a little bit of water, right? It'd blow up a little bit, but not like, you know what I mean? It just was like more of a filler. It was more of a filler, right? And then pour your chips on top, and then we'd have our bag of our chili beans, our cut up sausages, our roast beef, jerk pork, whatever we were the meats.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then heat them up with some refried beans in there and cheesy rice and a few other things I just can't remember right now. And then cook that thing up, in either a hot pot or we boil it in the boiling water. Just depends on what time, because a lot of homeboys end up getting extra hot pots, and we would use some just for cooking. Some were just for boiling water, some were used to actually cook inside, right, as a pot. So then you cook all that, you throw your chips on there, and then you put after you heat all that up, you pop a hole in it and you just kind of squeeze it out, the chili beans with all that on the top of the chips. And then you got your mayonnaise, mustard, your mayonnaise, you got your squeezed cheese, and you got your sriracha. And then you squeeze that all on top, right? And then you slice your pickles up and throw that on top. Throw your pickles. Yeah, throw your pickles on. So it's and then the wet burrito, you put the chili bean, not the chili beans, the refried beans, the sopas, the fucking pork rinds, and cheesy rice in the bag.
Burrito bag.
Right. And then you fill your usually how we did it, we got a tumbler cup, a tall one, right? And then we put 2 tortillas in it and then fill up each one, right? And matter of fact, it's inside of a bag. You got the bag inside the cup. And then you pour the soup, the sopa with the refried beans, the cheesy rice, refried beans, excuse me. Cheesy rice and all that in there, pork rinds, and then fill it up with water, put the water in each one, then let it sit, put the cap on top, right? And then after that's done, you pour the burrito on top of your plate or whatever, and then you put the mix with the chili beans and the chopped up summer sausage and all that shit.
Hungry than motherfucker right now.
Yeah, bro. Put that on there, and then boom, the cheese. Oh man, there was some good stuff.
Hey, he's hungry. Hey, he's hungry as a motherfucker.
Look, we done had Gunner talking stories. Now we got cooking with Lou. What the
hell? I'm gonna tell you right now. Hey, it don't sound like much, man, but it does the trick, and it's great.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna make a sopa right now. Real talk.
Hey, I make spread sometimes at home, right? Well, I'll just do some with chili beans, and I'll put some Cheez-Its and some Doritos, and mayonnaise and stuff like that. Sometimes I'll do a tuna and noodles, but man, my old lady, if I ever don't finish the bowl, she'll throw it away. She says, I feel bad you're eating that stuff, and I'm like, man, that stuff's good though.
Yeah, that's
You know what
bomb.
I mean? Bro, and then like Christmas Eve morning, or Christmas morning, man, there'd be about 25 of us, man, just everybody just putting in. And then if you don't have none to do, we look out for the homies still. You know what I mean? And we come together and make something good. Sometimes we'll keep if on certain days, like we have chicken on the bone. Sometimes in your little circle, 4 or 5 guys, they'll bring their chicken back, and we'll have chicken nachos or something. That's all just depends. But
that's part of prison living, man. You're gonna make something out of nothing,
yeah, and it's all about the mix, bro. In prison, it's all about the mix.
It's and you know what? And that's, like I said, you'll see there's some very smart individuals that, man, they can cook better than they can work with on the streets. It's crazy. I've seen everything. Pizza, the tamales, the chow mein, the sweet and sour, and it's a trip. But that's part of
my last birthday, bro. My last birthday in there was in July, and I got out 3 days later. And this cat, the Asian cat, he's from up north though. This dude had a hustle where he would just make all his packages, and he would get them in different people's name, would just be all the stuff he needed to make these people Asian plates, bowls. And but he made me for my birthday. He made me what's that? The Indian food.
What, the curry?
Curry. He made me curry, but he makes it with the peanut butter and all that. That's how he gets it.
Peanut butter mustard.
Yeah. And he was an ace, man. I mean, like top-notch cook, dude, when it came to that. And every weekend he'd come out to the yard. He would stay in the morning. He'd come out about 10 o'clock, 10:30, 11 outline, and he'd have his laundry bag all tied because you got the drawstring, and he'd have about 8 bowls in there because all morning he's been cooking for these people, and they were paying him like $8 a bowl. You know what I mean? So he was making money, man, straight making money. Books and stamps. People were buying him. He was earning things. Because they'd buy packages, and he would buy all the stuff he needed, but then he would get shorts and shoes and whatever he needed for what they owed him. You know what I mean? So
yeah, no doubt about it, man.
He did his thing, man. He definitely did his thing. So we're gonna tap out.
You know what?
I got like 3 hours to sleep, and I gotta go to work.
Oh man, you gotta do your thing. I appreciate being on here,
bro. Listen, whenever you want to come on, bro, you're more than welcome to, my brother.
Yeah, so let me do the out call. So we got Drito. Yeah, the shout out. The Drito 5K, Tim Hennessy, Spiffy Lubricante, Rich DM 650, Carlo Muniz, of course, San Fran 415, Carol, David S. Cameron, Andy,
Joanna's
Vato Loco, Psycho Monstro, Órale. Little Ray, Hustle Through the Struggle. Brian Miller. Joanna. Thin Dudes. I think he already went to sleep. Stool Pigeons. Boston Red 2. Sin City Vanquish. Another good cat. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got on this screen. Everybody, thanks for coming.
Thank you guys, man. All right, thank you, Nelson. Thank you, Big Lou. You already know what it is. Anytime, brothers. I'll be tapping in.
Yep.
You got it.
If you haven't hit the like button, hit the like button on your way out. Everybody, good night. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your Sunday night.
All righty. Peace out.
Yes, sir.
Lou, I'll talk to you later, brother.
Yes, sir. Bye.
Yep.
Carlos, buenas noches.